All right.
I should say.
Well, he was on there and then, oh, there he is.
Yeah, he
All I
should be
see is
there.
Howie.
Yeah, I'm muting everybody.
Jan's on there.
All right, so everybody's muted.
How you doing, Tim?
Oh, we're hanging in there.
Good.
Just picked up a dog, little puppy, 9 weeks old.
Oh,
He-
what
he's
kind?
His father was a German Shepherd, his mother was a chocolate lab. So
Big
he's got
dog.
he's got the German Shepherd face, but he's got the chocolate lab paws. He's quite a character.
Well, that's good because the German Shepherd paws are huge.
Yeah, jeez. He's a character, he'll keep you busy.
So he's got the lab energy then.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
The big ears like the German Shepherd.
this is right up in the air, like this. Yeah.
Our German Shepherd growing up had one ear that stood up and one that flopped.
He was like Lynn Tin Tin.
We had a dog, our dog Tanner was a German Shepherd Yellow Lab, and oh, the hair. Just like,
German Shepherd for
like
sure.
non-stop shedding.
Yeah.
Then we went to a Pekingese poodle mix, and he was the size of the hairballs that would come off King.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
Are we all set to go? We're at 6:30.
The system is on for live streaming.
Everything's ready to
I've got
go.
everybody
Video's
that
up.
was in the waiting room is on. I got everybody muted. I'll unmute myself, and I should unmute Heather. Hopefully this will work.
You are unmuted.
And unmute Amanda, and then we'll see how many of us can be unmuted before there's an issue.
If you have two on in the same room, it'll happen.
Okay, we might have to. Oh, it's just started.
So it says I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll want to mute Heather.
You up? Now, if somebody's just watching through the Zoom, are they able to hear?
We
If we're
tested it
unmuted?
out upstairs and people weren't able to hear. And I tested it out with the Brick Dutron.
Okay. All right, so, where's my agenda? Okay.
But we'll do a little test run once we get going.
Okay, so welcome to the regular meeting of the Pittsfield Town Council held on May 5th, 6:30, and we are embarking on a new adventure here for our first teleconferencing meeting. If we could open the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. We're just going to ask for everybody's patience while we're doing this tonight. I'm sure we might come across a few glitches here and there. So everybody be patient as we work through all of this together. First item is adoption of minutes of the regular meeting held on March 17th, 2020.
I move we adopt the minutes as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Deb. Any corrections, counselors? Okay, motion's been made. All those in favor of adopting the minutes of the regular meeting held on March 17th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that passes. Presentations, congratulations, introductions. Catherine, that would be.
All right, very good. For presentations, congratulations, and introductions, if I could have the people that have video nod if you can hear us. Can you hear the meeting? Okay. Okay, great, thank you. I wanted to make sure that all the samples we did work, but we moved it around. All right, very good. So we now have remote meetings, and I just wanted to go over the details a little bit quickly. So those at home can zoom in if they want to for the next meeting or for this one. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought many changes to our community. The staff in most offices have been working to continue to provide services and remain accessible for community members. To do our part in social distancing, we've shifted to virtual meetings. We have information that's on the town's website at www.pittsfield.org under the events calendar. And there is a document that shows how to Zoom, as well as a few details, as well as the numbers that are needed. And I won't go down through the whole document, but there are 2 ways to participate in the town council meetings until the civil emergency is over with. To watch the session directly in Zoom by joining the meeting as an attendee. That link will change for each meeting and can be found on the town website under the events calendar at www.pittsfield.org. To use this method, there are installation instructions for those that have not used Zoom before. A very easy way to do this is to dial in on your mobile work or home phone. There are toll-free dial-in numbers that are available at the events calendar. And so we published a variety of information and set up the meetings ahead of time. There's some training videos that people can go to Zoom on. For the public hearings, we've modified how we conduct these. Members of the public may join the full council meeting and listen, watch via Zoom, which is taking place right now. We have a number of people on. When the council votes to open a public hearing, members of the public will be allowed and able to speak. Each member of the public who participates in a public hearing should keep their comments concise, just as councilors and the town manager should. And if you're unable to participate for any reason whatsoever by Zoom, whether by phone or via video, just send your comments in to townmanager@pittsfield.org ahead of time, and we'll read them so people can get their input into the public hearing. And so the mayor will call for the public to be able to speak, and then I'll unmute everybody, and then as many as we can. We found if we have too many people unmuted, that's making a lot of microphone noises. So people can raise their hands by going to the bottom of Zoom. So there are some different sections there where you can mute yourself if you weren't already muted. There's also a place where on the right-hand side where it has reactions, where you can put up your hand, click something and it will show your hand is up, or you can just raise your hand and it will make sure that you can speak. Thank you. Economic development, very quickly. Many of our events that we have scheduled were canceled due to the civil emergency. We had, at the time of posting of the agenda, the decision had not been made on the Central Maine Egg Festival. However, that event has been canceled. People did not want to do that, but having the event being in July, and the fact that it is heavily subsidized by businesses who are hurting across the state and out of state that are supporters, it was felt that this would be too much of a burden to put on to those businesses to contribute, because they contribute so much and do such a great job. And we do need to cancel ahead of time for all the items that we have set up so that we don't have penalties. So the 48th Egg Festival will not take place this year, July 6th through July 11th, and we will look forward to the 49th annual Central Maine Egg Festival. Thank you.
Okay, first item under public hearings and old business, ordinance 20-02.
For ordinance 20-02, public hearing, that the town council hereby ordains that Chapter 2 Administrative Code, Division 1, Town Council, Article 1, General Rules Governing Council Actions, Section 109, Use of Social Media by Town Councilors be added.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so we will be asking for public input. If there's anyone watching by video that would like to make comments according to ordinance 20-02, you can use that reactions button down at the bottom right-hand corner and raise your hand to speak, and Catherine can unmute you to have your comments.
All right, not seeing anyone that wants to comment on that particular one.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing portion and we'll go to counselors. Counselors, have a motion to address ordinance 20-02.
Move we adopt ordinance 20-02.
Second?
Any comments, questions regarding ordinance 20-02, counselors?
I actually have one. So I read through this, it's quite extensive. And I wanted to make sure that we made it clear in this language because it's not clear. And though we know what the intention is behind this, we want it to be clear for those who are after us. That it sounds like any Facebook page owned by a counselor would have to adhere by these rules, and we want to make sure it's clear that it's only if it's an official page of you as a town councilor. And that language is not in here when it talks about the restrictions and everything. Though I think that we should all adhere to being good social beings and not being rude to people. Rude is subjective. And on personal Facebook pages, we tend to be a little bit more free with postings than we might be on a town councilor official page.
Do you have any language that you?
Well, I was thinking
put in
we
there?
could say something along the lines of, like, for example, section 109.9 best practice. Instead of calling it best practice, you could call it best practice for counselors. Official counselor social media page, stuff like that. Because then that really specifies that that's what that's including for. It's not,
Well, we should be held to those standards regardless if it's on our personal page.
according to
or
the First
not.
Amendment, you cannot do that, and that's what we have to avoid.
So I think we have to go back a little further to 109.3 where it says who this policy covers.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it says it covers all town councilors. It should be considered in conjunction with the town's code of ethics, which kind of covers a lot of this anyway.
Right.
And it relates to the all use of social media, whether inside or outside of official capabilities, official capacities. So I think that would be the first part that we would need to specify that
I
it's an
agree.
official, like if you set up an official Facebook page or Twitter account for town councilor of District 3 for the town of
Exactly.
Pittsfield, at that point you are representing
Pittsfield.
the town of Pittsfield as a town councilor
I agree.
versus Amanda Cullimore or Heather Donahue
Exactly.
on Facebook. And so,
Or my business one that I happen to run,
exactly,
or anything like that.
same thing, yeah. And we all have multiple roles in social media, and we need to
Absolutely.
make sure that we kind of silo that information and those things that
Absolutely.
I try not to leave we've been posting a lot of community things, but it's more community versus like my role here tonight.
Exactly.
And I want to keep those things separate anyway. I don't bring that onto my personal page, and I don't want that, because I'm not always going to be in this, and I don't want it living there, So what kind of language would you want to put to clarify that?
I just think that if we indicate in there on that, so we're saying that it relates to the use of social media, whether inside or outside of official capacities, something after that, or when it says this policy covers all town councilors, we could say this policy covers all town councilors who have specified town councilor pages.
Okay. So rather
So
than
what that's saying is you have to be polite on a page you set up as a counselor, but you don't have to be polite and represent the town on your personal page.
Well, we can't
That's the
tell
way-
somebody that they have to do stuff on their personal page, first of all. Now, I agree that we should all be respectful on our personal pages. But what I find is respectful, and what Pete finds respectful, and what Tim and Matt and you and Heather all find respectful is very subjective. I could be offended by something that you post and you mean no offense. So we cannot hold anybody, our citizens or counselors, responsible for things that, and in here I remember reading something about not advertising businesses and stuff. I run a business page. And because I'm a counselor, now I'm going to not be allowed to advertise. That's how it could be looked at.
I think that's where you have to specify that this policy is gonna relate to a official
Exactly.
capacity,
That's what I'm
social
saying, that this
media.
has to say
That's
that.
the way.
So, instead of saying that this policy covers all it should cover all town councilors.
Yeah.
It should be considered in conjunction with the town council's code of ethics. And rather than it relates to all use of social media, we should change that to say that it relates to social media in an official capacity where you are claiming that you are a representative of the town council.
Correct.
Instead of whether inside or outside or
Right.
official capacities.
This policy refers to if you are setting up
So can you say that
an
again?
actual page or
It relates
account
to all
as a
official.
counselor.
How
Right.
about it relates to all official use of social media, period.
Well, we wanna say.
And take that part out about whether inside or outside of official capacity.
It's an official town council.
How about just when inside or when considered official capacities, as an official capacity? I think that's the simplest way to do it, is just to say right off the bat that this applies when you are claiming that you are representing yourself as a counselor.
Correct.
Let's make it as simple as possible.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay,
I'm
so,
okay with that.
So it relates to the use of all social media when a counselor, what do we want to say there?
When the counselor is
It
using
relates-
social media on official purposes, or for official
Right.
capacities.
why can't you just say it relates to all official use of social media, period? You can't get any
Official
simpler.
council use. You have to use.
But that, it says counselors right in it. How many times we need to say counselors?
At
Yeah.
section 109, use of social media by town councilors, you wanna just change the title up there? Too?
Where?
Official use of social media, like, you mean?
Yeah, town councilor,
Official
Official
use of
use.
social media by town councilors.
I mean, that's what we,
For the whole,
Me.
and then that
That's
covers
Right.
the whole thing.
So
And,
add
but I would
official-
strike in 109.3, I would strike whether inside or outside of official capacities. If we're gonna just label the section, official use of social media by town councilors.
So just leave the two sentences there and strike the third sentence.
Yeah, we
This
wouldn't have to
policy
do-
covers all town councilors, it should be considered in conjunction with the town's code of ethics, period.
the end.
Yeah, and then we don't even need that last sentence because in the
Correct.
first paragraph, we've already said what
Correct.
social media is.
Okay, so
Okay.
strike the last sentence of 109.3 and retitle section 109, official use of social media by town counselors.
Does that sound good, Amanda?
That sounds good, that clears that up.
Makes sense.
Okay, so, I'm,
Go ahead.
That's your amendment?
yes, so,
I'll
move we adopt the amendment, where are we now? 2002?
Yes.
Okay. Move we amend ordinance 20-02, section 109, the title, use of social media by town councilors will now include the word official. And in section 109.3, the last sentence, it relates to all use of social media, whether inside or outside of official capacities, shall be stricken.
Second.
Okay, are there any other changes we want to make, or do we want to go one by one?
I think the
Yeah,
whole
that-
thing
That was
looks,
my only concern.
yeah, the whole thing looks really
Okay, does
well.
anybody else have any other concerns about it?
Lisa?
Pete? Okay, so we have an amendment,
Need to vote
proposed
on.
and second, motion on the floor, all those in favor of the amended version of ordinance 20-02, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? So that will pass as an
That
accepted
technically should be
amendment.
two.
And then we will vote on on passing the amended ordinance.
Correct.
Oh.
Move, so we need another motion.
We need a motion for the amended
Move
ordinance.
we adopt ordinance 20-02 as amended.
Second.
Any more discussion about this ordinance? All right, counselors, please vote on the amended ordinance 20-02. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that passes. Ordinance 20-03, Kathy.
Ordinance 20-3, public hearing. That the town council hereby ordains that chapter 2 administrative code, division 2, administration of town business, article 3, description of individual departments, section 600, public works department, through section 603, public works employees, be rescinded and replaced with the new chapter 2 administrative code, division 2, administration of town business, article 3, description of individual departments, section 600, public works department, through section 603, public works employees, and add section 604, transfer station, and 605, recycling center.
Thank you, Catherine. This is a public hearing, so we will be looking from the audience for any hand waving. Again, there's a button down in the right-hand corner under reactions with a little smiley face. You can raise your hand to speak, and Catherine will unmute you. Is there anybody in the audience watching on Zoom that would like to make any comments regarding this public hearing?
I don't see any comments for this particular item.
Okay, so we will close the public hearing and go to counselors. Counselors will be looking for a motion to open discussion.
I move we open discussion for ordinance 20-03.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Counselors, discussion on ordinance 20-03. Questions, concerns?
Nope, I think it looks good.
So if we recall, we had found that many of the ordinances had different titles in them because they were adopted at different times and then codified in 1997 and then continued forward. We had several departments that were listed under public works but have always operated as separate departments. And since we were going to go through and make changes to the Parks and Recreation committees, we then decided to make changes here too as much as we could without creating so many changes it became confusing. So every place that it had public works employee or public works director or road superintendent, there's 5 or 6 different names that just said each of them would mean the same, so the town could choose whatever employees it wanted at whatever time, and then we would not have to change all of those other ordinances, which would have been quite expensive.
This was just language cleanup and
Correct.
trying to align what our ordinances are with our actual day-to-day practices right
Correct.
now.
Yes.
So, counselors, any questions? Okay. So let's vote on ordinance -20-03.
We need another motion.
We need to make a motion
Yeah.
to adopt it.
Amanda's opened the conversation, she didn't actually say adopt. So move we adopt ordinance 20-03.
Second.
Thank you. All right, now we're ready to vote.
We had our conversation.
Counselors, all those in favor of ordinance 20-03, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. All right. Then we need a motion for grouping, for waive the rules to group 20-04 through 20-07. They all relate to language changes, and it's all basically the same topic. It's just affecting different ordinances, but the discussion would be the same for all of these. So,
Mayor Donahue, I'd like to make a motion we waive the rules to cover those ordinances.
thank you, Tim.
Second.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, counselors, all those in favor of, or is there any discussion about waiving the rules?
This is a public, no, we need to vote on it though.
Correct. We're gonna waive the rules so we can have the public hearing all together at once.
Because it's all related to
It's
the
all
same
for
item.
Parks and Recreation, it doesn't make
Correct.
sense to do it all separate.
It'll be much easier to put it together.
Okay. So motion to waive the rules is on the table. All those in favor of waiving the rules so we can address these 4 ordinances and public hearings together at once? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass. Okay, so Catherine, are you going to read all 4 of them and then we'll open
I
the public
am.
hearing for them?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll read all 4, and then we'll open up the public hearing. We have first, ordinance 20-04, public hearing, that the town council hereby ordains that chapter 2, Administrative Code, Division 2, Administration of Town Business, Article 3, Description of Individual Departments, Section 800, Parks and Recreation Department, through Section 808, Barbara Fenler Memorial Park, Fenler Park, be rescinded and replaced with the new Chapter 2 Administrative Code, Division 2, Administration of Town Business, Article 3. Description of individual departments, Section 800, Parks and Recreation Department through Section 808, Barbara Fenler Memorial Park, Fenler Park, and add Section 804 funds. Second ordinance, ordinance 20-05, public hearing, that the town council hereby ordains that Chapter 2, Administrative Code, Division 3, Voluntary Town Service, Article 2, Alphabetical Description of Boards and Committees, Section 900, Parks and Recreation Board be rescinded and replaced with the new Section 900, Parks and Recreation Committee. Third ordinance amendment, ordinance 20-06, public hearing, that the town council hereby ordains that Chapter 2 Administrative Code, Division 3, Voluntary Town Service, Article 2, Alphabetical Description of Boards and Committees, Section 1100, Pinnacle Park Board be amended by deleting Section 1100 Pinnacle Park Board in its entirety. Fourth ordinance amendment and last one. Ordinance 20-07, public hearing, that the town council hereby ordains that Chapter 2 Administrative Code, Division 3, Voluntary Town Service, Article 2, Alphabetical Description of Boards and Committees, Section 1300 Pool Committee, Pittsfield Municipal Pool, be amended by deleting Section 1300 Pool Committee, Pittsfield Municipal Pool in its entirety. End.
Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing addressing ordinances 20-04, 05, 06, and 07 all together. Is there anyone participating online that would like to make comments regarding these ordinances? Again, please use the reactions button to raise your hand so Catherine can unmute you.
All right, do we have anyone interested? Let me check. I know the Bertrands are on here.
I'm gonna check in with them.
I'll just check in.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, you're all set. We've unmuted you, so we've got Nancy Shorey and Paul Bertrand. Would you like to make some comments on the proposed amendments to combine the committees?
Well, one comment would be, it's a great idea. Been a long time coming.
Yeah, we're glad that all the committees can be together and everybody can help each other out. There's so many less people volunteering now than used to, so it's just a good thing for the town. It's a good thing for everybody, and all those committees can all help each other.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the comments.
Do you have any other comments, or are you all set?
No, we're good.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You may actually get used to doing this.
Anyone else have any comments regarding this public hearing? I don't see anything else in there.
I don't see anything. Okay, good.
All right, so at this point, we'll close the public hearing, and we'll ask councilors for a motion to address the ordinance 20-04 through 20-07.
Move we adopt ordinance 20-4, 20-05, 20-06, and 20-07.
Thank
Second.
you. Yeah, Matt. Okay, counselors, any comments, considerations, or questions?
I only found one thing that I had a question on. I assume it's because old language was moved in with the old, but in section 803.2, when it talks about the pool, the fourth bullet says that they're going to make a recommendation to themselves to come to the town council, and I assume that that's not what we meant.
Where are you looking?
Yes, we can delete that out. We did move the language in. And multiple times in reading this by everybody involved with this, did not
Well,
fix
there's a lot
that.
of language
Sometimes you
here.
just need another set of
Another
eyes.
person that didn't work on it, yeah. it's
I looked at it and I was like,
Fourth
I am
bullet.
sure that's not what she meant.
Very good, thank
So I
you.
think we should just strike the make recommendations to Parks and Recreation Committee and the word to, and then just start it as bring, and then say recommendations to town council and town manager for needed capital improvements. That would be my suggested change.
Yep, that sounds good.
You could just strike to the Parks and Recreation Committee.
We could do that
bring,
too, yeah.
and then-
Okay, yeah, we could do that.
Just omit that
Make
part.
recommendations to the town council.
Yep.
Let's do that.
We'll just take out the board that is itself.
That makes a lot more sense.
I had to read it 3 times and check back to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding something.
Well, you've seen our code book.
Yes.
So after we make all these changes, Catherine, are we gonna get updated sections?
Yes,
put
in
in?
fact, the
Okay.
town
For all
clerk
the
is
books.
one of our projects at home during the last month is to work on the code books.
Getting everything
To
updated.
streamline everything, go back and check everything, enter, she started entering all these in and has gotten partially through it.
Okay.
But didn't want to do too much
Okay.
until we actually approved it.
Okay. Were there any other concerns, counselors, or anything else that you saw that was amiss or needed to be changed in the language in any of these?
Do we need to make an amendment?
I'm gonna call this a technical, it's a technical item.
Okay,
It's minor.
Yes.
good.
It's pretty
Because we're not
minor.
really changing the meeting.
Good.
Yeah, so we just.
And it's running with me.
It is actually a technical item.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to encompass them all rather than make a motion for
Oh,
every
yeah.
single one of them.
Oh, no,
All
just
the
like
more
it.
changes, get them all done in one motion, so nobody has any other questions or concerns about these? Okay, so a closed discussion and we'll look for a motion to accept those changes as, or we'll just vote on it if it's
Yeah.
technical,
Yes,
right?
yes,
We'll
it is
just vote on
a
it.
technical item.
Okay, so counselors, please vote on accepting and passing ordinances 20-04, 05, 06, and 07. Please vote yes if you would like to pass these changes.
Yay.
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. I think that will make us much more efficient and make the best use of volunteer hours.
And I'm sure volunteers would be happy to have full boards, because things have changed in the last 3 years, and you'll have, what I've been telling people is a super board.
Yeah, a super board. That's what it'll be. Okay, so that brings us down to ordinance 20-08.
Ordinance
Public hearing.
20-08, public hearing, that the town council hereby ordains that chapter 11, Pittsfield Public Library Policies, Article 5, Circulation Services Policy, Section 504, overdue materials be rescinded and replaced with the new Section 504, overdue materials.
Okay, thank you. So this is a public hearing. We'll be looking to the screen here to see if there's anyone that's joining us online that would make
This
any.
is to be set to public hearing. Oh, sorry. Never
Oh,
mind.
we've got some-
I'm jumping ahead.
We've got some new people have just popped on here.
So if there's anyone online that would like to make any comments, there's that reaction button down at the bottom that you can click on in order to make comments, and Catherine can unmute you.
All right, so we had 3 new people just join in. 1 came back, and then we might have been lost by the signal, and 2 more. So I'm just going to give them a moment to get here. All right, so we've got Holly, I see. Holly, we have reached ordinance 20-08, just as you came here for.
It looks like she's
chapter
connecting
11.
to audio right now, Catherine.
Oh, there she goes.
There.
Can you hear us, Holly? Oh, she needs to be unmuted.
No, I just thought
There
I
you
got,
are.
Yeah, I thought she was all set.
I was chewing, so
Oh,
I.
Okay, yeah, I thought we were all set there.
Holly, did you have any comments that you wanted to make about the public hearing part for the changes in the library policies on the overdue materials?
No, I mean, do you want me to explain why I wanted to change it? Does that help people?
Let's do that, yes.
Okay, sure.
Sure. Okay, so I wanted to get rid of fines for folks. Last year we kind of tested it a little bit just to see how it worked. I think sometimes people really can't afford to pay for some of their fines, and so they're reluctant to either return their materials or they return them and they never come back. And it's a hardship for some people, and for others it's not. So I did a little test where we didn't charge fines for a while. We only averaged $67 a month getting fines anyway. And it was funny because the first 3 months, people donated money instead, and we were averaging actually over $70. People were getting more. So I wanted to get rid of it. And in January and February, we didn't get 67. It was lower than that, the average was. But that money pays for our postage, and sometimes it will purchase things that the rest of the budget can't afford, and sometimes it's little crafty things. Honestly, it's easier to have the petty cash to go and buy what Wes needs for his story time that week, or it's an extra movie that someone had wanted that we didn't have in the budget originally. So those are all the reasons why I wanted to get rid of it.
Okay, and so this is just applying to overdue fines. So if somebody actually loses the book or mistreats the book and it's damaged, they still need to pay to replace those materials. This isn't like, go abuse the books, you don't have to pay for them. This is just if you forgot to bring it back on time, the daily rate or whatever, then that's being forgiven and it's not in place anymore.
Exactly. So they always have to pay for replacement. Or donate a new book that's whatever what it, if it's the same item, or equivalent to. But yes, they always have to pay for the damages or replacement of. It's not. It's just this is for something they've already returned, but they're late with.
Okay. Counselors, do you have any other questions for Holly? I think she explained the reasoning behind it pretty good.
Yeah. I think we're all set. I'm all
Okay,
set.
thank you, Holly. Does anybody else have any comments to make regarding the policy change for the library fines?
I don't see anything else.
I'm not seeing anything
No
either.
other comments.
Okay, so at this point, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll look for a motion from the counselors.
Move we adopt ordinance 20-08.
Second?
Matt will second, thank you. Any questions or comments during our comment period? Tim, Amanda had Matt.
The only thing I'll say is I think we should pass it because, the librarian Holly has already started to put it into place and it works very well. There's no sense in messing with something that works very well.
Yep.
Also, it makes sense to have the code match the
Right.
practice.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
that's
the new
something that we've been
practice.
looking for, is to kind of align things in the code with what's going on so that it carries on forward. So, any other questions? Okay, counselors, let's vote on ordinance 20-08. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, so that passes, and that brings us down to reports, council committees, finance committee.
So, I don't actually have a report because we haven't met since February.
Yeah. None of our committees in the meeting, so.
But I do want to know when we can start scheduling meetings again. I think that it's important. We've got budget season coming up. I know last year you started in the June time frame, which is next month. So we should probably meet to discuss what our schedule is going to be.
Yeah.
It'd be
And
nice if we're still under, these rules where it's only the three of us. If we could use Zoom, that would be good.
I think that the Zoom format might work well for
That
a
would work
meeting
well.
like that.
Smaller meeting.
And we postponed the meeting to meet with the bankers.
Mhm.
So we might want to reschedule that, and it might work better for them to do it by Zoom
If we
as
did.
well,
I did
because
that.
they don't have to travel.
I did actually talk to them, and
Yeah.
they offered a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
I called them up just
Awesome.
to talk about,
That's good
you know, the
news.
future, so that actually could work quite well.
So
I think
you already talked to them about that, Catherine. Do you want to kind of find out what their schedules are all like now, and then maybe give us some dates to look at?
I
And then
think
you
that
can
would
kind
be
of
the
go from
easier
there.
way to do this, rather than have a meeting to go down to a schedule. Let's start
Yeah.
with one meeting, and then at that meeting, we'll set the other schedules, and we'll be
That's
able to
perfectly
talk
fine.
easily on the Zoom. It'll work out good for a small group.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the more we use Zoom, the more comfortable we'll get with it.
Oh, that's true.
For me, it's not a matter of how comfortable I am. When it's a big meeting with all of us like this, it's much harder in
Oh, yeah.
those
It
Zoom
is.
platforms.
Yeah.
But for a smaller finance committee meeting, I agree that that's perfectly fine being done over Zoom, and I agree with that. I also had a question about, this is again, finance committee side of me. When will we be getting the results of the audit?
All right, because of the civil emergency,
Right.
the audit was moved back. So we'll get, we've been promised that even though it's been moved back a couple of months, that we will get the results at the same time we usually do each year, which is July 1.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Thank
the
you.
the auditors were under quite a strain with all of their towns.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mhm.
I just didn't know how much it was going to be affected by everything going
Yeah.
on. Okay, perfect, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. And ordinance, we haven't had any meetings either, and we have some things on the back burner. One was the sewer ordinance that Oliver was gonna take a first pass at, and then the staff was gonna look at.
Yeah, and because of the, you know, the emergency situation,
that's not-
Oliver had to switch their priorities to have some of their staff at home.
Yep.
And we had to do that too, so.
Okay.
That is a complicated project that, needs a lot of work.
So
and
there's
it
a
will
lot
be
of pre-work
priority.
in that before it actually comes to the committee, so
Yes.
that's what we're waiting for before
Yes.
we address it.
Yes,
And then we're also waiting for things to come back from the planning board, but
Yes.
they haven't been having
Correct.
meetings. So
They
I
can't.
think with all our committees, we're in this point of kind of starting to play catch up a little bit to where we can start getting information flowing again.
I think this is gonna be a really hard time through the rest of this year, trying to make up the 2 months or 3 months that we
Right,
haven't been able to do anything, so
yeah,
I just think people should be aware of that. We may have to have more meetings.
Yeah.
Like when we get into the budget, separate from the council meetings.
Yep.
And more workshops, and unfortunately, we might wind up having a meeting every week if we wanna reach everything by the end of December.
right. So we'll take it as we go, you know,
Yeah.
as things come back from the planning board, we'll start dealing with them. As things are ready on the sewer waterfront, we'll start dealing with them. As things are ready for the finance, we'll start dealing with that. And, you know, we're just kind of like getting back up to speed, to do that.
and pretty much the same as the rest of the state and the
Yep.
nation and the world.
Yep, a lot of things have been put on hold, and
We're
it's
gonna
gonna
be
take
pretty busy.
everybody a while to
What a
catch up
year
on that.
to pick to be my first term as a town council, right, Pete?
I know, it's so different.
So, Tim, recycling, I'm guessing you don't have a report?
I have no report this evening, same thing, we got, you know, because it's a small group and, you know, we've got some people that are, you know, everybody has to be careful, but especially we've got some senior people on
Yeah.
there, and we don't wanna put them in a bad spot, because the things that we can work on most of that stuff is anytime, unless it's a celebration or Earth Day or
Yeah.
something like that, so as soon as this is, yes,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No,
As
go
soon
ahead.
as this is lifted or close to it, I'm gonna work with the town manager, and we'll see what we can come up with. I'll let you guys know as soon as we can.
Okay.
We usually shut it down for the summer, however, we may have to do a little bit more when it comes to that. We'll see how it goes.
And the
But I'll
reuse,
work with Catherine and I'll let you know.
yeah, and the reuse building is not being open right now,
Not
and
right
that's
now.
one of the
It's not
programmings
gonna be open, that was my question. Is it
So-
gonna be open at all?
Well, here's the thing, I'd like to see it open, and I think the girls would like to see it open, but I think we need, it's one of them things, Deb, where we're just kind of playing it by ear, because again, we don't want people coming in there and breaking social distance and not wearing a mask, and I've got people 75, 80 years old in there, and we don't want
Right.
that, we don't want to put them in harm's way.
Plus, you'll have to come up with protocols to sanitize stuff that you
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the bigger-
And then you have the items that the
Yeah.
people just haul off the back of the vehicles and somebody else takes it.
I mean,
So-
I already have a box full of stuff.
I don't want to discourage the girls and say, no, it's going to be closed the rest of this year. That's going to be a tough call. We're going to have people that'll sanitize that stuff and it's going to take some planning.
We'll need more,
Yeah.
we'll find out as time goes along as to how the governor's plan works and how, the virus hopefully goes away and, or at least is,
Mhm.
Well,
I know I got some stuff I want to donate. It's the same thing. I guess what I would tell people is wait and see, because I don't want to say no, because who knows? They may lift it next month.
Yeah,
But then
we don't
again,
know.
we want to have our protocols in place so we don't make anybody physically ill. So.
yeah, and I think the social distancing would probably be the easiest thing to work through. It's the touching and the items and people going through the building that would be the concern.
Right.
And there's more and more research coming out about the longevity of the virus on surfaces, and I think as time goes on, we'll have more information to go on to be able to make those policies. And the fact that it's only really open one day a week is actually helpful if there's like one day of time and then there's a 6-day time period where nobody's in the building. And then it's just one day, that is actually a helpful thing rather than having a facility that's open every day for multiple hours a day. So that would actually be working in your favor to have more limited
The sad
access.
the sad part of the whole thing is there are people now that are out of work that really need
That could
things.
use the
And we
items.
can't, our hands are kind of tied, but
Yeah.
like I said, I'll work with the committee and I'll work with Catherine and you and I'll keep bringing information forward as we get it.
Do you have a Facebook page?
I do. I don't use a lot of Facebook. Basically, what I sign up to Facebook for is to sign up for my concerts because they made me take one. Because I'm
I
my
meant more
hours.
just the reuse center have one.
Use the towns.
Yeah, it's the towns.
I was just thinking that if you have people who are in need of stuff, maybe there's a way they could contact you or another committee member and say, I'm looking for this. It could be posted on Facebook. And somebody like Deb may have what that person needs, and there could be an exchange without having to go into
There
that
could be
big.
like a curbside service
Exactly.
if there's somebody in the building
good
that could
idea.
pull items.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they come and say, I'm coming at 2 o'clock, or just tell them that they're there, and then just bring things out or set them outside. when the
Exactly.
person
And that's
comes.
definitely something we could
A
look
lot
at.
of businesses
Like
go
Chinese
into
curbside
touchless.
pickup,
Yeah,
but
same
in a
thing.
reuse center.
Yeah, so I mean,
I don't
there's ways to
understand
work
that, by the
through
way.
it. And the committee can kind of think about those different things when you start getting together. Again, there's lots of ways to work through it. So,
Okay,
so
definitely that'll be on our agenda.
okay, great.
Other than that, no report this evening.
Okay, thank you. Catherine, board and committee updates by town councilors and manager. I think we're just up to you.
Yes. Town manager's report. I'll be brief. I'm just going to focus on a few of the high points here. Number one, thank you during the civil emergency. I could say a lot about the last 1.5 months. However, what I would like to do is thank everyone in the town for their support of not only the community, our businesses, our organizations, and the town, but also of each other. Information is always changing and evolving, as we have not been through a period like this. So people have tried to help each other, which is very good. Number two, town office reopening. Our town office, as well as town offices across the state of Maine, fit under the governor's phase 2 opening of June 1st. Since the office was shut down at the end of March, we've been looking at the setup in the building and made some plans. Our EMA director and public works crew have been extremely helpful. Bernard reviewed the front office setup, which has been totally open, with one of the largest counter areas around, the largest one that I've seen. Newport Glass was commissioned on April 14th for the ordering of materials after several measuring sessions, including doors to secure the very open town office setup. Public Works has been to the town office numerous times to work on the area and was here recently today. The installation of all of the plexiglass glass will need to be scheduled once the materials arrive and they're still on order. The rest of the building is very open. However, in areas it's very congested, which means moving items around and channeling flow. Our safety coordinator, Donnie Shute, has been thinking about this and reviewing it since early April. There will be some changes that are needed. We have a very open building. You can access the building by 2 exits or entrances. You can go downstairs and use the restroom. So to keep within all the protocols that are in place, and with people coming in and out, we are going to have to meet the social distancing requirements. And that will be for the safety of not only the citizens, but our employees. So we've been making appointments all along for services that are needed if people weren't able to wait. And with the governor's orders, many items had their expiration dates extended until 30 days after the civil emergency is over with. So the staff's been working at home, coming in the office as needed for items that cannot legally be done at their homes, security items that should not be done for security reasons, and then items that logistically could never be completed at home. We've been talking about shifts for a while, leading up to the entire opening. So the one main item we're waiting for is the date that Newport Glass will be installing the large area, the plexiglass, for the security and safety of the employees and the citizens. So it will be interesting to see what transpires in the next few weeks, as the governor's reopening plan is a plan that is a work in progress, and it can change based upon what goes on with the virus. I wanted to advise the town council before making any public announcements, because when the plan came out, town managers looked at it last Thursday and Friday, and it's clear that we would open on June 1st. We just need to make sure all of our safety items are taken care of. The library and the recreation departments are also working on their plans. Holly has come up with a very structured, phased-in approach, which we will have our safety coordinator, health officer look at, as well as our EMA director, Bernard Williams. And the recreation department is doing their best to try to figure out how we can have summer recreation. That is a challenge. Many towns across the state have canceled their recreation programs, and so we'll keep looking at it. Ours starts a little bit later than some towns. So this will still keep in progress. So if you feel comfortable with what the governor has put in, which is the June 1st for the towns, we'll head toward that.
Do we have the option, if that isn't working out and people aren't paying attention, to close the office again?
Depending on what goes on, yes, that would be something we would bring to the council so that you would be involved. Yes.
Because the reason I bring it up is I've been watching other states that are opening up, and people, they're just opening it up. And so people aren't doing social distancing, they're not wearing face masks when they're in a tight group, they're not wearing gloves, which I'm not tonight because everybody's so far away.
Yeah, you're all separated.
But that those issues have arisen in other states, so I would like to know that if that happens here, we would have the ability to say, okay,
yes,
we need to close the office again and then try reopening with a different plan.
Yeah, as the town government, the town is in charge of the town. That's just the plan on when we should open, because everything's closed.
I just want to clarify that for those that are watching, because I know nobody wants to actually have to do that, but it is a possibility if
or instead of just closing it down, why not do a soft open? A lot of places are doing soft openings where people can come in, but you're only allowing a certain number of people in. You know, if that's a concern, there can be a little bell that they push a button and a sanitizing station so they can sanitize after they've pushed the button to let somebody know that they're there. I mean, there's all kinds of different options
Yeah,
that could
there
be
are.
explored,
Well, and
which I'm
we-
sure Bernard and Donnie are really looking at. So I have faith in them to make the right decision
Oh,
for our town.
absolutely.
They're
I
very
think
knowl-
they've
very
done a
knowledgeable.
fantastic job.
They
They
have.
were right on the
Difficult
ball,
one.
and everything went really smoothly, so.
Yes.
And we do
Definitely.
have the, online registrations coming up, so that might limit the number of people that are
Correct.
coming in.
Yes,
So
that's
take
Yeah, I was gonna
advantage of
say,
that too.
when can I
So-
register my truck, cause
That's gonna
it
be-
expired in
Yeah, you're good.
February,
You're okay.
and then we
Don't worry about
closed
it yet.
down.
And we're still in a state of civil emergency. I'm in the same place. Mine expired in February and it's not legal.
Well,
It just
Mine is
feels,
legal.
it feels weird driving around, and I know my truck is unregistered.
You're all set, just like everybody else.
Okay,
So
sorry
maybe
for
you're the
interrupting.
First to try it out.
Yes, and depending on when Newport Glass is able to install the plexiglass setup for all of that area, and a few other things, a soft opening is likely what will take place.
That's good, that's
Good.
good. A lot of people have put spots on, like when I was in
Parts.
Walgreens, they've actually got spots on the floor,
Yep.
6 feet apart,
Those are
so
the
that's
best
where you're
ones.
supposed to stand, so we might wanna think about something like that.
Yeah, they're actually being ordered.
Or limiting the number of people in, customers in the office at one time.
Yes, and so, I don't know if you've seen us, we also have been a free-for-all, you could have 9 people lined up at the front counter all the way across, so things have to change now.
Yeah,
Which
okay.
is what we're working on.
Sorry I
That's
interrupted.
okay, it's an exciting subject.
All right.
All right, going on to number 3, online services for town business update. So we are excited to report that our application for rapid renewal for vehicles was approved. The staff has participated in the state training requirement. Our application got caught up in the effort to have every town in the state have this ability, so it took a bit of time here. Obviously, it had to make some changes to the platforms. We're now waiting for our account to be activated. Once this happens, citizens and businesses can complete their re-registrations in the convenience of their home or business. And so for those who would like to enjoy their boat, those can be done. We've got a lot of re-registrations that have taken place online. We've done a few here through the mail because we offer that. And on the town's website, there's a section that indicates online registrations, and there's a link that can be clicked for boat registrations, and people have been using that, so that is good. When rapid renewal for vehicles goes online, we will publish that information. So anyone right now who wants their vehicle re-registered and doesn't want to wait, it's fine. We've been doing those. We've done them through the mail with checks being sent to us, and then we send out the registration materials. Or we've done them through the telephone with the use of their credit card, and then we send the information out. So the online services will continue to be expanded. Once the rapid renewal goes on activated, then the option for the taxes, the utility payments, and everything should be activated too.
Oh,
Our
awesome.
deputy treasurer has been working on this all along and working with the vendor in the state today. Number 4, transfer station new fee system. There's a couple of things that got caught up in the health crisis. That was scheduled to go into effect on June 1st. And so with the need of everybody to come in to the office to, purchase their transfer station permit during the month of May, there just is no way that we can get that all done. We need to move that back. And I think with people, not being employed, $20 isn't a lot, but to some people it is a lot. So contractors also will have to pay once that's set up. So this is an issue. So I would recommend putting the new fee schedule back on the agenda just to revise the dates at our next meeting and move that back. So people have more time, and then we'll advertise it. We've got a much better idea when we're going to open up and everything, and we didn't need to make a lot of changes and have people all of a sudden we're open on June 1st, and then we got this new system, and then everybody's all excited here. And the second item that got caught up in the COVID-19 health crisis is that the proposals in response to our RFP for banking services for the second capital improvement plan loan authorized by the town council for $706,000 were due in the middle of April. And so we started getting a lot of questions from the banks about how all their employees were at home. They didn't want to go to the post office. So they didn't, of course, we're going to the post office every day to get the mail, but they didn't want to go to the post office. They didn't want to go get UPS to send it. So I said, fine, we'll move the date back. So we moved it back with an addendum to mid-May 2020. And actually, this worked out good because if you think about it, with the work going slower for Public Works and having so much to do, extra projects and just so much to do, why do we want to get the loan ahead of time before they fix the road so that we're paying the interest earlier? You know, we'll pay it a little bit later. So that made sense. So I moved that back and we'll have those proposals in mid-May. And my last item is on the brush removal from the storm. So I just would like to thank the transfer station, Public Works, and the fire department, especially Bernard Williams, our EMA director, Donnie Shute, our health officer, safety coordinator, as well as all the employees who have been out working on our extraordinary efforts with the spring brush season. Wow, how much brush can you have?
Oh my God, everybody was so happy about that.
Yeah, so
did that.
it
was
did work
wonderful.
out well. We started out with a major power outage caused by the storm, torrential rain, storm damage beyond what people had said, that there was more damage to the trees than there was in the ice storm, just because of the type of weather we had and how they were shored up and everything. And then with the ground conditions at the transfer station and the fact that we had, you know, a virus going on, we just could not have that many people all head to the transfer station all at once, get stuck, and then all be there talking to each other and yelling and what have you, or just socializing. So the chipping project worked out really well. It included the hire of a pulp truck for the large piles out in the country. This was a very unique solution and one that came up very quickly. We had a soft opening at the transfer station brush pile after 2 days of work, after everything dried out. And so our update,
180 tons
yeah, so
of
our update,
chips and 700 tons of brush.
yeah, our update is an astronomical amount
Oh
of
my
chips.
God.
The brush was just huge piles everywhere. So for now, Jeff Dewey Trucking, that reduced their rate for us, is done at this time. The District 1 and 2 here in town have been picked up for the second time. We need to finish up District 3, which is over by Somerset Avenue, School Street area, one more time. Then we'll be going out to District 4 with the hand crew starting at the end of this week. And then the week following, Jeff Dewey Trucking will come back with his truck. So at this point, the hand crews have chipped about 180 tons of chips. There are 700 tons of brush was done with the pulp truck, and that's going to be chipped at a later date. So this doesn't include what residents headed there as soon as the transfer station was open. So Donnie has a list of people waiting for the wood chips at the transfer station. Besides all the reasons listed above, this is a great project because people could work outside on their property, get some of the pent-up energy taken care of, get their property looking nice, get rid of all the dead wood. And our recycling statistics are going to be quite high this year because we can add in all of the chips for composting. So thank you very much. That's my report, so we can move on to the other items.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. New business, ordinance 20-09 to be set to public hearing May 19th, 2020.
So this is a long one.
Do you want to tackle that, or do you need a break?
No, that's okay, I can do it. Ordinance 20-09 to be set to public hearing on May 19th, 2020. That the Town of Pittsfield Town Council hereby ordains the tax anticipation note borrowing for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020 on the following terms. Ordered that pursuant to Section 5771 of Title 30A of the Maine Revised Statutes as amended, and the ordinance adopted on the date hereof, the town treasurer is hereby authorized and empowered to borrow money from time to time during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020, in the principal amount or amounts not exceeding $500,000 at any one time outstanding, in anticipation of the collection or receipts from taxes by the issuance of tax anticipation notes of the town, each of which notes shall be designated Town of Pittsfield 2020 tax anticipation notes. All of such tax anticipation notes and any extensions, renewals, or replacements thereof shall be signed by the town treasurer and countersigned by at least a majority of the members of the town council, shall be payable on or before November 1st, 2020, out of money raised by taxation during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020, shall bear interest payable at maturity at a rate determined in the manner as approved by the treasurer, and shall contain such other terms and provisions not inconsistent herewith, and be in such form and shall be approved by the officers signing the same, whose approval shall be conclusively evidenced by their execution thereof, and be it further ordered that the treasurer is hereby authorized to award the notes to such person or entity as approved by the town council, such approval to be conclusively evidenced by the execution of the 2020 tax anticipation notes, and be it further ordered that the notes authorized by the foregoing are hereby designated qualified tax exempt obligations for purposes of section 265B of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, and be it further ordered that the treasurer of the town be authorized to cover with the purchasers of the notes on behalf of the town and for the benefit of the holders of the notes, that the town will take whatever steps and refrain from taking any action as may be necessary or appropriate to ensure that interest on the notes will remain free from federal income taxes, including without limitation the filing of information returns and reports with the Internal Revenue Sources and the payment of any rebate due to the United States of America. The end.
Well, there we
No
go.
wonder government moves so slowly.
This is to set public hearing. Do we want to have discussion about this, or do we want to just set up a public hearing?
Just wait until the public hearing
Right.
discussion.
I move we set ordinance 20-09 to public hearing on May 19th, 2020.
Second.
Thank you. Counselors, all those in favor of setting ordinance 20-09 to public hearing on May 19th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that passes and will be set to public hearing May 19th.
Resolution 20-41, resolved that the town council call a special election for Councilor District 2 on Tuesday, July 14, 2020, and approve that nomination papers for Councilor District 2 be made available on blank, and that the filing deadline for said nomination papers will be blank at 5:00 p.m. as the first call for a special election and nomination paper deadlines were vacated by the governor's proclamation of a civil emergency and the health crisis.
Catherine, what are the dates we need to put in there? I don't see them in our...
May 6th.
May 6th and May 29th.
May 29th.
Yes. So those papers can be available tomorrow.
All right.
How are people getting those papers?
Yes, what we will do is advertise that on the website. They can make an appointment. We'll make up the
Okay.
papers, they call in. It would be, if the papers were a certain size, we could just send them to them over the email, but they're so large that people do not have those printers. So we can leave them in a package on the back door. We've been doing that for a number of people that need items. We look up the items, get them together, and leave them outside with their name on a package that's sealed, and there's been no issues.
Okay. We need a motion on resolution 20-41.
I move we adopt resolution 20-41.
And with the date of the...
Oh, yes, with the date being May 6th that the papers are available, and they have to be filed by May 29th.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Catherine, can they also just have them mailed to them?
They can also have them back to the
Now, when it comes to having to turn the nomination papers in,
They would call the town office because the phones are being answered all day. They would make an appointment with the town clerk.
okay, so that it could be notarized and
Yes,
everything? Okay,
yes, correct.
perfect.
And by that time, that's near the end of May, we'll be back in staggered shifts and everything.
Okay.
So it would work out much better.
Great.
It'll work out anyway, but it'll be a lot easier.
I just don't want there to be any hindrance to getting somebody in that chair.
There should be no hindrance whatsoever.
Well, there's gonna be
Well,
an expert.
I have a question with regard to that, if we're open to are we discussing it now?
We're
Okay.
open to discuss.
I would like to know how much it's gonna cost to run a special election, because they'll pick up papers to be go through that process, and 2 months later, they have to do it again.
So,
And
Well, isn't it
so
in
my-
conjunction with the primaries anyway, so it's not additional fees on us?
It'll be additional cost because of the hand counting. It doesn't go through
Oh, I see.
the machine, but we're pairing it up with July 14th. A special election by itself is usually 500 to 600. So because you're pairing it up with the regular primary, I mean, probably with the ballots and everything, 300, 250.
Okay,
Yeah. So it's less than what it usually would be if it was by itself.
okay.
And the only reason this is happening is because it was supposed to happen on June
Yeah.
6th.
Right.
But that got moved, the state moved the primary elections, so
Right.
this is just moved along with it. But apparently the school is still having their ballot, or have you heard anything new
We
about
got
that?
some new information and I just sent that out today. It looks like they're having one of their votes in June, but they're going to match up with the July,
For the budget votes.
referendum for the written ballot.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
so much more sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be much easier. This will give them more time too. I mean, they're in the same boat we have been in. And so, just as long as somebody understands if they run for the District 2 term, it's till the end of the year. So once they bring their papers back on, at the end of May, and they get on the ballot for July, they then get elected, and then 3 weeks later, they have to go
Go
take
through
their
that
papers out
again.
to run again.
To start another. And then
Yeah.
that second election you asked about is our regular November election.
Correct.
So there's no additional
Right.
there really, except for the
I
county.
No,
don't
I'm
know
just-
what the legal implications are around this, but considering what we've had to deal with, I wonder if there's exceptions that can be made. Could they be given 2 sets of papers if they wanted to go past December?
I don't think we should.
And then they could collect the signatures from the people as they go around. I know they have to have papers for both elections, but is it possible that we release those papers earlier? Somebody else would still have the option to fill out papers if they wanted to run during that time period, but if the same person wants to, is that legal?
I will check into that. I think what's happened because of the COVID-19 pandemic, all these new questions and items are coming up, so we'll have to check that one out.
Okay.
Because you'd have somebody, we haven't set the next election in papers, so to do that, we have to set the next one too. Because
Well,
right-
then never mind, that's
Yeah.
too much, don't worry about it.
No.
I was just trying to think if there was an easy, convenient way to allow
Yeah,
somebody to
yeah.
do that, but
Mhm.
let's not add extra
Well,
costs
people are
when we
gonna
already
have to-
have extra costs right now.
People are gonna have to pick up papers for the other seats that are up for election as
Yeah.
well, and
Right.
for school board and all those other things and stuff as well, so.
Yeah, that's true.
All that work is gonna have to be done, it's just unfortunate that that particular
Yeah,
person
for that one.
is gonna have to do it twice, but they're gonna get really good at it. And it'll give them an opportunity
They
to
can tell
talk to their
everybody, I'm coming
constituents
around again in
right
a few
Go on,
weeks.
Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay, councilors, any other questions or discussion on resolution 20-41? Okay, so let's vote on that. All those in favor of that resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass as well. Resolution 20-42.
Resolution 20-42, resolved that the town council accept the proposal of blank in an amount to not exceed blank for the municipal building masonry wash, seal, and repointing, and to authorize the town manager to execute all necessary paperwork, including the town's standard services contract for the project.
Counselors,
Move we adopt resolution 20-42 for PCS Specialty of Skowhegan, Maine, in the amount not to exceed $15,850.
I second that.
Counselors, any questions or concerns regarding the bid before us?
I'm pretty excited that it's $11,000 almost less than what we had.
Yeah.
Save every penny we can.
I'm just excited that we're gonna get it done.
Yeah, really.
And this was brought up 2 years ago.
Yes.
Oh, I know, the bids are so high.
You know, it's 2 years that our building is deteriorating while we're waiting.
I think
to
with
get
all
the
of this
work done.
going on, people's prices might drop a little just so they can get the
Right.
business.
Yeah, this
It
is
might.
true.
You never know, funny things happen at times. So any other questions or discussion about this?
I do have one question, Catherine. I know that money was set aside, the $26,840, in a specific account for that. Is that leftover balance going to stay in that account, or can it be moved to another project that needs to happen, like the sidewalk outside?
Yeah, I put these monies deliberately into reserve accounts, so once that function is over with, we can move it to another project.
Beautiful,
So
thank
once
you.
it's is used up, we don't need it anymore, the counselors can transfer it.
Fantastic, thank you.
Does it have, does it need to stay like within the building, like within that area of the town?
Can be for any project.
So we have a little flexibility of what we
Yes.
can see the greatest need being at the time.
Yes, that would be true. And so what we talked about is that some of these capital projects are going to be higher or lower. We have
Yeah.
another list of capital projects that will be coming out, so we'll see the best
So
use
we'll
of
just
the
line
money.
them up in order, and then the ones at the end that are more needy
Yes.
that we don't have funding for, we'll save those towards the end and
Yeah.
kind of gather up all the pennies and
Wonderful, that's what we want.
put them in a piggy bank. Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's vote on 20-42 with PCS Specialty Contracting of Skowhegan for $15,850. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass, and that moves us on to resolution 20-43.
Resolution 20-43, resolved that the town council accept the proposal of blank, in the amount to not exceed blank, for the fire station masonry repointing, alternate to masonry replacement, and to authorize the town manager to execute all necessary paperwork, including the town's standard services contract for the project.
Move we adopt resolution 20-43 with PCS Specialty Contractors of Skowhegan, Maine, in the amount not to exceed $12,480.
Thank you. Want to hear a
Second.
second? Amanda?
Yep.
Thank you. And, any other questions or concerns? And I apologize, I totally forgot to look to see if there was anybody out of the audience that had any comments on the previous item. We've already passed that, so let's deal with this item here. Is there anybody in the audience that has any comments or questions about the ceiling work on the fire station, repointing masonry, resolution 20-43? Not seeing anything, do you see anything?
No, I didn't see anything. And I did watch.
You were watching? Okay.
Yeah,
I
to
totally
see if
forgot.
anyone had
I got
items,
immersed
comments
in my
on the
paper
other
in front of
items.
me.
It's hard to do everything at once.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. Counselors, discussion or questions about this one as well?
Glad it's getting done.
Glad it's getting
You
done.
know, same contractor, they can do the whole project at once.
It
That-
makes a lot of
that would be
sense to
nice.
have that be coordinated and have it be the same person. So, okay, so let's vote on 20-43. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass as well. Resolution 20-44.
Resolution 20-44, resolved that the town council reject all bids received for the municipal building masonry walkway replacement as they were substantially over budget, and to authorize the town manager and public works foreman to determine and implement a solution to the back entranceway, which may include having the public works department dig out the brickwork and have material put in place for a walkway.
Move we adopt resolution 20-44.
Second.
Okay, so the recommendation is to reject all the bids, because they're really high. And one was super low.
One was too low to have even been reasonable, so that was asking for trouble.
Maybe it was no, I guess not. I was gonna say maybe it was a decimal error, but maybe not.
No.
No, I looked through it and I was like,
Yeah.
So what do we
no.
wanna do with this? Do we wanna, just hold the project and see how things pan out after the repointing is done and where those reserve fundings end up after that projects are done?
So for this project, we do have $25,755. So I did speak with Steve Vance, and he said if they had to straighten out the back area, they would dig it out, put down gravel. We could hire a contractor to do part of the work, and then have it put back to gravel, to cement, or to asphalt. Asphalt being my favorite.
Yes.
Gravel, I think, is a problem, and cement is a problem anyway.
Asphalt. Definitely.
Asphalt's the
Yeah.
way to go.
Yeah, I think.
And we don't need it to be
Asphalt
heated, we
is-
just need something
I think we all
reasonable.
agree that's,
Yep.
So do we wanna rebid this and get bids for asphalt? To have that, have that walkway taken out and have asphalt put down?
Well, I'm thinking if you approve this the way it is, you're giving the authority to the public works foreman to get, and myself, to get some
To get
quotes.
new bids.
Yeah, just to go
Okay.
do it.
Okay.
so,
Any other questions or suggestions? on
This is a project that keeps coming out, we just gotta do
It
it.
does, yeah.
it's gonna get done eventually.
I'm
Needs to
not
be done.
seeing anything
Yeah.
from.
And while
the
we're
audience.
closed, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Anything else, counselors?
Hmm?
Okay. All those in favor of rejecting these bids and authorizing Public Works to take care of it, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass, and I'm sure Steve or Catherine will keep us updated on
Yes, definitely.
how that gets scheduled and, whatnot, what the plan is there. That brings us to resolution 20-45.
Resolution 20-45, resolved that the town council approve the request for proposals for the 2020 road paving program and authorize the town manager or public works foreman to seek proposals for same.
Move we adopt resolution 20-45.
Second.
Tim, was that you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so road paving, Catherine.
So I was looking through this, Catherine, and I thought I remembered, and maybe I'm thinking that we said something we didn't at the last finance committee meeting, February. I thought we wanted to put out bids for both paving and seeing what it would cost to bring it back to gravel.
I did give that to the public works foreman, and he came back and said he thinks that this will work.
Okay.
I did give him the two items and had it set up with two separate sections. He took it apart and came back. No, and the concern is that you'd have this whole area that wasn't paved, I mean, a massive length of road.
It's only 2 miles.
I know, but
We have a lot, I mean, there's a lot more gravel roads than that.
Yes, there
we do in total, but there's just constant complaints on them, and I think he's just seeing, oh, here we go again with another
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Which I can understand.
Well, I mean, if they come in low, then that's good, but I thought we wanted to do them together so that we could decide what was, because no
Yeah.
matter what, something has to happen with that road.
Yes.
Well, the other concern too was that there were so many culverts and
Yes.
ditching and all that has to be done, which needed to be included in this funding, which you
Yeah.
couldn't do all of that and have the paving done with the funds that we have. So it was looking at it as, what can we get done? Can we get everything prepped and get all that done this year? And then next year, look at
And then
doing
do
the
the paving
paving.
next
And that
year.
way it's done right
But
and it's not.
do we have any roads that I mean, absolutely have to have something done to them this year.
It's this
Higgins
road.
Road.
This
Yes.
road, yeah.
And
That
that's what
was-
we're talking about with this bid,
Right,
is that
Is
road.
just to do that road?
yeah.
Yes, it's a
2
very
miles.
long road,
Don't
very,
they-
very long,
Bits
few
and
houses.
pieces.
Don't they have to do the sealing to the one road that they did last year?
Yes, and that's
Yes.
gonna be left out, in order to get the Higgins Road done. So what he's done on the Higgins Road is come up with, 3 sections, in which he's got the shim, and then he's got the surface for the 3 sections, skipping over the newer pavement that's in. There's one good piece, and then there's one that's okay. And then most of the road is in very bad shape. It has to be done. I mean, the amount of time that's being
I
spent
thought we had
there.
money left over last year, Catherine, because they didn't complete that and they had to, so it's in a reserve for them to complete it.
I have the loan monies, on the general ledger, by putting the expenditures against the loan, have a certain amount of money that's left, which is the money that's needed. Likely, all of it will be needed for the second pavement, on,
Detroit?
yeah, on Detroit, but also the correction of the other area that needs to be fixed, that we withheld money from the contractor on.
So they need to go back and fix
They need to
that.
go back and fix it, second collapse.
Right, that's what I was asking
on
about, because I knew we
Snake
held
Route.
money back.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did,
And there was a ditch that was just dug up on Snake Route too, or no? One of the culverts,
yes.
and that was part of the paving project as well, or was that work that we did?
I think that's
With the
separate,
ditches?
that's separate,
That's separate, so that's something that we did that didn't quite hold up?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, there was a lot of water going through there.
There is a lot of water. I know, the only way you could ever, I remember the years the council didn't want to take out a loan. It's just, there's so much paving that needs to be done. The price tag to do all the paving in town was $8 million, which is why things got to this point. You know, because people didn't want to start taking out the loans, which are going to end up, making the taxes high, and the tax rate is already high. And then the main purse money came, which was a miracle, and so we're able to do 2 or 3 years for a number of years. If you take a third loan out, I'm not recommending that, but if you did, we can go for a number of years without affecting the mill rate, because the monies are in another account. We take the debt service out, we pay the loans off that were taken out for the first one last year, and the second one this year. We take the monies out of the main first account, which is called Pittsfield Future Fund, and then we don't affect the tax rate. But that, at a certain point, will really affect the tax rate down the road. So we have to be careful what we do there. So that'll be a big discussion topic this summer.
Because we don't want to deplete the future fund. It's basically our,
It's a future fund.
yeah.
So,
I mean, we
so
don't-
we'll have that conversation when we get closer to doing
Yes.
budgeting stuff, and we'll,
Yeah, that'll be a
we'll
big
figure
one.
that out and
Yeah.
start looking at all these things. So other questions about the paving before us? This is just to put the bid out, right?
Yes, correct.
So this is the bid we're gonna put out, and then, we'll be looking for proposals to come back. My hope is that we get lower bids than we're expecting, because the price of oil dropped so much, and
I think
that
it will.
drives the cost of petroleum-based products like tar and whatnot, so. But, with all this COVID stuff, it might drive up the cost of personnel and
Yeah.
operations,
So you've got the two things
we're just
going
gonna have to
against
wait
each
and
other.
see what comes back for the bids. Have you seen any comments out there, people that wanna make comments, Catherine, on any of the things here?
I was
We've lost a few
watching and
people.
didn't see anybody.
Okay.
I
I'm
know
not
Holly
seeing
just
anything.
wants to talk about paving.
Okay, counselors, any more discussion about putting out the proposal here that, Steve put together? Okay, let's vote on, resolution 20-45. All those in favor of putting this out for bid, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass. On to resolution 20-46.
So resolution 20-46, resolved that the town council authorize the librarian to apply for a main public library fund grant in the amount of $700, and to authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant funds.
Move we adopt resolution 20-46.
Second.
Matt, did
Good
you?
for her.
Yep.
Good for Holly.
Okay.
Does Holly have anything she wants to say on this?
You wanna know what it's for?
Well, we have an explanation here that it's for the Zoom Pro license, which I'm very excited about.
So I'm wondering why the library needs a separate one than what the town has. You can't use the same licensing for the town?
We have a different version.
It's a different version.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is something they're getting, the grant monies will take care of them, along with, the other program that they need.
Okay, awesome.
Zoom Pro license, so what is our license? Just Zoom license?
It's a
Is this
Zoom
like a
business.
second version?
Yeah, it's a different
Business.
version, yeah.
Okay. So this is gonna give you lots
And
of,
actually,
go ahead.
okay, it's actually money for also webcams, because currently the library staff, we're using all of our own personal things at home. And so these are webcams, honestly, some of them are better than what we have, but it's actually to use them at the library once we're able to get going again. A lot of the programs we do are still gonna be virtual, they're not gonna be in person for a long, long time. So it's not just the webcam. And I just found out today, we're actually gonna get a Zoom Pro license for free for 2 years.
Oh,
Any
Awesome.
library in the state is gonna get one.
Oh,
So, they've already said that I can use the money to go if I want a better webcam or something. So, the other thing is online reference software, because right now we're using a free version for 3 months. And we've actually had people email us to ask us questions, and so it's been kind of nice to do that. So we'll be using it for that too.
Nice.
Plus, it's a grant, so we don't have to pay it back.
Yeah.
I think
Grants
it's
are
great.
good.
Love that free money.
Grants are good. Okay,
Thank
Catherine,
you.
do you have any other questions for Holly about the programming or anything?
No.
Okay, you ready to vote on 20-46? Please say aye if you are in favor of $700 for grant funding for the library.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that passes.
Thank you.
Go get yourself some webcams.
It's all good.
Thanks, Holly.
Resolution 20
I'm sorry.
Resolution 20-47, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to apply for a grant from the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, in the amount of up to $30,000 under the Coronavirus Act, Relief and Economic Security Act, CARES Act, and upon award, to execute all paperwork on behalf of the town of Pittsfield and authorize the expenditure of those funds for same.
Counselor?
Move we adopt resolution 20-47.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, questions, concerns, discussions?
I think it's great.
So
I
what,
guess I'm not understanding how the
I know.
airport
I
will
understand.
qualify for this, but we're not looking at it. Why wouldn't the theater, who definitely needs help right now,
Oh, I
not
There's no
qualify?
grants for theaters.
It's probably 'cause
It's a
federal.
municipality thing, though.
It's probably because it's a federal thing, I would imagine.
So underneath the act, all airports across the United States and the state of Maine, all were allocated automatically a certain amount of money based upon formulas. And so we were allocated $30,000. So of course we got excited and thought, well, this is how we can do some,
The ceiling.
crack sealing.
Yeah.
However, under the FAA requirements, and I understand their answer, I just asked again, and I've got the same answer back, so I will leave that alone. Crack sealing to the FAA is a massive project with proper guidelines, and it's not our little project when we buy some boxes of the material, and the contractor, the small one-person or two-person contractor comes and takes care of things. You know, it
Of
just
course
does.
not, it's the FAA.
Yeah, it's the FAA, so it has to be, really in-depth with huge bid specs and a long process. So we will leave that alone. So basically, we are eligible for all of our regular operating expenses, regardless of whether they're affected or whether they are extras under COVID-19. So it's regular operating expenses. So our budget is general supplies 500, diesel fuel 2,700, equipment non-vehicle such as the beacon, lights, monitor, transmitter, the reels 1,400, contractual, the snow removal, which is large, mowing, bush hogging, electrical permits, fire extinguisher, that would be 22,218, because I added in some more bush hogging to our budget. Advertising 200, electricity 2,277, telephone 705. That makes it 30,000. Our budget was a little bit under 27,000, but I added more in the line of the amount of bush hogging because of so much needing to be done there. And we could bush hog for years
That's awesome.
because we've got 300 acres out there.
And the 30,000 is the max that we could.
That is the max we would be eligible for. So this is something that would help the airport drastically, and that would save money for other things.
And that's a grant, so we don't have to repay it?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So, in theory, next year, it frees up the $22,000 that we would have spent.
Well, if it
on-
comes this year, it will free up the money, which then can be used next year.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's gonna free up about $22,000 out of our budget either this year or next year that we won't.
Or
have
we
to.
can use that
If it
22,000
comes
for
this
the
year.
vaccines.
So we would decide then how to use
Great.
that, yeah.
Well, we're going to be incurring extra expenses because of
yeah.
all these things. I mean, we have to make modifications to the building upstairs, and we've been spending money on extra PPE for staff, and so there's extra things that, you know, we haven't even really started talking about yet as far as extra expenses that this is incurring, so.
Yeah, we are
Yes, I'm
hoping,
so looking forward to budget season this summer.
It's
Oh, I know.
exciting. Is that a finance?
the towns that have already started,
I can't,
So,
it is such a challenge.
We'll
I can't
tackle
even
it.
wrap my head around that right now.
we'll
With
tackle
everything
it
else.
a little at a time.
Yeah,
So,
this is true.
My committee chair hat keeps going, like, I'm seeing all of these things, and I'm like, oh, God.
okay.
I know, what
So-
a challenging year this will be.
Any other questions about this? So this is just authorizing Catherine to put the paperwork together. Do we need to then approve this, application, or are you just gonna put it in as you go?
All right, so we're gonna authorize, the town manager to do it, so.
To do everything.
Yeah, so it does everything, and then it takes care of the expenditures, transfer the monies and everything.
Okay. So we're not gonna see this again until you tell us about it.
Correct, I'll let you know any grant monies that we receive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Counselors, let's vote unless anybody has any more discussion they wanna have about that. No? Okay, let's vote on, resolution 20-47. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass, which brings us to 2048.
Yes. Resolution 20-48, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to apply for a grant from the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, in the amount of $334,890, and the Maine Department of Transportation, Maine DOT, in the amount of $18,605, with a 5% match from the town of $18,605, for a total project of $372,100 for the construct stormwater controls for 6-unit T hangar and apron at the Pittsfield Municipal Airport under Airport Improvement Program AIP project number 3-23-003X number to be assigned 2020. If such project qualifies under the CARES Act, then the federal share of costs shall increase, and upon award to execute all paperwork on behalf of the town of Pittsfield and authorize the expenditure of those funds for same.
I move we adopt resolution 20-48.
Second.
Any discussion, counselors?
That 18,605 was what we had already put in the budget, correct?
Correct, we have that
Yeah.
money in the reserve account. So what may happen under the CARES Act, originally we were told that the federal share would become 100% on the grants. However, when we went to file the application, we were told to file it the regular way just in case there's an interpretation issue going on. But if it's interpreted in favor of all the towns and airports, there will be no match required. It'll all be covered by the federal funding. But at this point, we were told to file the old way, which is what we're doing. And this will be the second project in the acquisition, finally, of having our own hangar at the Pittsfield Municipal Airport. This project will address the stormwater controls that are needed there. And the location where the airport hangar would go is miraculously, by the way things are set up and where it actually has to go, it's right over an area where the culverts are collapsing and need to be replaced. So because we need the hangar, we can fix the stormwater area there. There's a massive stormwater drainage area that comes down from Chester Street, Peltomer, and goes across the airport, and it has structural difficulties under the runway.
Sounds like something that can be fixed.
Yes, from the 1950s, yeah.
Any other questions, discussion, counselors? Okay, let's vote on resolution 20-48. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass. Brings us on to discussion items.
Yes, for discussion items, we have the department reports, which you have a copy of. Our fire department has been so busy with everything that Bernard's report isn't there, which is fine considering all of his extra duties. And so we'll get back on the April reports. They're all coming in now. And I'll be starting the April reconciliation. So the financial reports as of the end of March 31, 2020, we have through 25% of the budget period. And at that time, 21% of the municipal expenditures have taken place and 19.3% of municipal water and sewer. For the revenue collections, again, through 25% of the period, we have 15.7% of the municipal revenues have been collected, 14% of the municipal water and sewer. Our two largest revenue sources after property taxes are excise tax collections, and at this point we are $39,986 ahead of the 2019 collections at this time. I will say that totally changes at the end of April, because remember in March we had 3 weeks of collections, and then in April we just have a few registrations being done here and there. So that will drastically change, as well as the state revenue sharing. At this point, we were $37,163 ahead of the 2019 collections, and the check that came in was a tiny bit more than half of what we got last year. And we're in the new higher amount because revenue sharing is based upon all of your different taxes, including sales tax and gas tax, and so we know what's taking place here. And that this is one of the main reasons, as well as the fact that people may not have money to pay their property taxes when they come up, is why we're getting the tax anticipation note, something that we haven't had to do since 2009-10.
I feel like we need to, on all of our reports, put like a little asterisk next to all of the first and second quarter of things for 2020, just so that things don't look wonky when you're comparing it from one year to the next.
Oh, yeah.
And back again, because this is so,
Down at the budget report,
it's
it'll
such
say
an anomaly.
COVID-19.
Yeah, it just needs to be like a little star there that says, just don't forget this happened, you know, because, you know, historically looking back, people are like, what happened there, you know.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be an experience.
And it's spread over it's going to be at least 2 quarters and possibly the rest of the year,
Correct.
depending on what's happening.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I am all done with the reports. I've listed the major items. So the statistics will be drastically different for the April report. Same here.
And we'll be getting that April report the next meeting, right?
Yes, as long as everything goes well with the reconciliations, yes, and get the department reports and everything. But yes.
Okay, so now that brings us down to audience. So we have just a few people that are still with us out there. A few people dropped off, but is anyone out in the audience wanting to make any comments on anything from the evening or other items, or even what your experience is in the meeting tonight would be interesting to hear.
It was an experience.
It looks like we only have one audit. He's coming on, I think.
Yes, hello, this is Ron Watson. Can you hear me?
We can hear you,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Ron Watson, 175 Main Street. So, first impressions of the meeting. I thought everything went really well. I haven't had any connection issues, and everybody's been very clear. So, thank you for the hard work that went into setting this up. I know learning new skills on the fly can be challenging. The other item that I wanted to bring up was in relation to Resolution 20-41, the special election for Councilor District 2. My understanding is that under normal circumstances, the signatures that are needed for that are done on paper. And given the current pandemic, I'm wondering if there's a way for us to do like a DocuSign instead, just so that we don't have one sheet of paper traveling around town being touched by multiple people when we aren't sure if they're infected without symptoms. So I don't know if that's possible under the law. I don't know what would need to go into that, but I know DocuSign is available. I know it's not too expensive. So something to look into.
So that is a
Other than
good,
that, thank you.
that is a good point, and we will check into that. I didn't see in all the governor's proclamations anything that changed the requirements of the state law and the nomination papers as of yet, but we may be one of the first towns going out with them, because all of the state referendums for June, which now is July, had gotten down just at that point when the pandemic came in. So that is a good point. We'll check into that and let you know, and everybody else.
Okay. Thanks, Ron. I think Ron's the only
Thank you.
other non-counselor person that's actually on there.
Yeah, everybody else left us.
What?
Is Assessor that computer? Is that
No,
what-
assessor is upstairs. We were going
Oh,
back and
okay.
forth and got several computers on and couldn't get one of them off being assessor.
Well, it took me a few minutes to realize that my computer shows up as a phone number instead. So that, and I'm on there, so that's kind of strange. But anyway, so we'll figure out how this works. and everything. So that brings us to counselors' reports. Matt, do you want to start us off?
No report this evening, thank you.
Tim.
Just a couple quick things. I got good news and bad news. I'll do the bad news first. I saw yesterday that the tannery in Heartland is going to be closing. We talked about that on the phone, you and I, which is really a shame. I understand that, the way things are, it couldn't go any further. That put kept a lot of people in high school. I worked in there. Former Councilor Bob Stackhouse and myself worked together in there when we were kids. It kept a lot of people in jobs that maybe the road construction industry dried up for a period of time, and they went in there so they wouldn't have to go on unemployment. And my dad was a buffing foreman in there he worked in there as a buffing foreman. He worked there 41 years. So it's gonna, there's a lot of history there, and it's really too bad. It's gonna affect the town dramatically. So unfortunately, that's the background. The good news is that we're looking at, they've been working at the UTC building, and how many jobs did they say they were?
140?
It's 130 to 150 depending on which thing you read.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that's very good news for us. And, I want to thank everybody that was involved in that, because what a great use for that building.
Oh, definitely.
And, Tim Rowe and everybody else that's involved in it.
Puritan Medical Products.
Puritan Medical Products, are they out of Dover?
No, Guilford.
Guilford, yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't find an area up there to expand to, and this building is empty, and it's an ideal location.
Yep. So that's great news for the town. There's some work right there, People are itching to get back to work. Again, bad news, unfortunately, anybody that didn't know him, Shirley Williams passed away. He was a nice man. He had a garage out there on the Crawford Road. He did auto repair for decades out there, and very nice fellow, countryman. I know his whole family, and he'll be missed. I think he was 89. He's been in the community forever. And he's one of the nice guys. And I know he hasn't had it out there for a few years, but that was good. I think that this meeting went very well considering everything. We're hitting our time frame, Deb.
Yeah.
You know, the good news is, I'll tell you, I really honestly believe that things are gonna come back, and they're gonna come back with a vengeance. It may take a little while before things get back to normal, but I think things are gonna come back to normal quickly. And I do think we're gonna get some very good bids on some of that, I really do, because people wanna go back to work.
The paving prices that were quoted to Steve Vance were quite high, so I'm not sure how that one's going to come out. Logistically, it should be lower, you would think, but you've got offsetting costs too. So we'll just put it out and see what happens. But other prices, I think we will find as we buy things and get services are gonna be quite good for us.
Absolutely. And also, Catherine, thanks to all the town employees for all the work they've done. And the grants that we could get at the airport, that'd be fantastic.
Yes, it would be.
And I'll tell you, my hat's off to the highway department, to Donnie, to Bernard, and to everybody that did that picking up all the branches and all the down trees and tree limbs down here and chipping it up. Most towns would not have done that. They would have said, listen, you know, you look around, I won't name names, you look around, they'll say things like, well, look, you know, we don't have the money to do this. It fell on your property, you're responsible for it. Sorry, that's the way it's gonna be. We didn't do that. We all stuck together, and I think that was the best solution we could have had. And I wanna thank the company that provided the trucks to get rid of the big stuff. And I think that most people, and you and I talked about this as well, most people are very grateful.
They were very grateful.
And appreciative of, they see how hard our town crews work. And I think that needs to be said, and I want to thank them personally. Big shout out to them.
That was a lot of work. We had people come in from the fire department, transfer station, water and sewer, and from public works, of course.
So anyway, I'm very optimistic. I think things are going to open back up. They won't open all at once, but I think by fall we're going to be right back into it again. And I think that first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a movie. I haven't been to a movie theater in a year, and I'm about due.
Well, that's interesting.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Amanda.
All right, first I'd like to make a comment about the town website. I went on to look at who was on the planning board, and it's no longer listing. I don't know if it ever did, but it doesn't list, when you click on planning board, it doesn't list who's on the planning board, and I didn't know if we could get that fixed.
We can. When the big update took place, because I was told that the website was so congested, a lot of information got taken off and it got streamlined from the recommendations. And so that was one of the items that was taken off. So yes, I think that is probably an important item to have on there because they will be having some big projects shortly.
Exactly, and that was, I went on because what we had discussed about with the possibility of that new solar farm coming in and I really wanted to find out processes and stuff, and I was like, oh, well, I can't even talk to anybody because I don't know who they are.
Yeah, the code officer can help you with the process, definitely.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Great. Of course, having a property butted right up against that, I'm very interested in how that's all going to play out.
I'm sure you read that whole document I sent to you.
I read quite a bit of the document that was sent. And we're looking at our property lines because there seems to be some dispute on their documents compared to our documents with our deed. So that's kind of the stuff that I was looking at. But I was curious about if we could get committee members put back on there. And that also will allow us to know how many vacant seats there are if somebody is interested in going on. So then we already covered that. Oh, I wanted to congratulate the Pittsfield Police Department for receiving that grant so they could get their new equipment and software so that they no longer have to handwrite tickets. I'm hoping that that will help offset some of the costs that we have to have in order to purchase all of those tickets. Also, I want to second what Tim said and thank the pickup crew. I was super excited to see them come out in front of my house and do all of that grind. At first I was like, because I was in my office, I'm like, what is that noise? And we were lucky because when they came to our house, it was just after we had that second really bad windstorm, and limbs that were loose came down, so I had 2 more that I had to pull up, and I was very grateful for them. And I want to thank everybody who joined our meeting remotely. I think that this is going to be the norm for a little bit until we're allowed to have more than 10 people in a room together. Also, I just wanted to make a comment that one thing I noticed is that we didn't share the Zoom and meeting information on the Facebook page, and I think that that's really important that we do that. Because it's, especially if you're looking for it off your phone, it's really buried on the website. So if we could just share the Zoom information right onto the Town of Pittsfield's Facebook page, I think that would make it helpful.
Yeah, and we actually did try to do that, and the whole thing went all over the page. And then today, shockingly, all of a sudden, the web address that we were all clicking on didn't work, just before the meeting. So I had to go in and redo the page. I don't know why it would disappear. So there's some technical difficulties with this, but we will consolidate the official notice that everybody was using on their websites to make it clearer to people which link to go to or telephone number. That was an item that Heather had mentioned. I used the standardized message that everybody was using on their websites, and I'll just make it shorter for the next time.
Yeah, I just went to look for it so I could share it on my Facebook page so people knew about it, and then I was like, oh, I don't see it there. So I understand the technical difficulty. I just copied and pasted and then put in text that I use when I send out Zoom meetings. And
yeah, for some reason it just did not work, and I don't know what that was. Like, for example, everything worked perfect on the Zoom. We did it at the office with Deborah, with several other people, with the employees. Everything worked good upstairs, and then once we switched down here, you did not know what happened, but it worked. At the end, 2 minutes before it fixed.
All right, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Pete?
Yeah, I just had a couple things. Like Tim, I also was glad to see that Chimber Road and Puritan are able to make use of the UTC building, and hopefully bring some jobs to town. And the only other thing that I had was, I had somebody ask me about the town recycling bin.
Yes. Yeah, there are so many things I could have mentioned tonight. I did get that one out on Facebook and the town website. The bin has had some issues over the years in which people will throw things in, but it goes away. This time we had dangerous items were thrown in the bin, and items that would cause a big problem during, the pandemic, and so we just hauled it out. And so it will be brought back, and hopefully, based upon, what's going on in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll be able to bring it back. But I will say that somebody or somebody's have put what I would call unmentionables in there, and I won't mention them. Yeah, it was dangerous for the public that was out there. It was very dangerous for the employees.
I told them I felt we've had that trouble before, and that's
we did a minor amount, but this time was drastic. Yeah.
So it's just a short term?
Yes, okay. That would be correct. Yeah, that's what I put out on the media. But
they don't have Facebook or
okay.
use the computer, so.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I mean, I really miss the recycling trailer. We have our 70 and 80-year-old residents that use it all the time, and all the people that come into work here use it and bring their material from other towns. So, yes, we want to have it back.
Okay. That was all I had.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Pete. Deborah?
Yes, I'd like to just say I think the meeting went really well. And I agree with Amanda that this is probably the norm for quite a while, until we see how things work out. Thank you, Catherine, for not reading every little word in your report. I appreciate that.
I did.
I'm impressed by all the grant money that we're eligible for, so that is good. And I look forward to seeing some paving bids.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you. a couple things that people have already mentioned, the town crews doing the roadside cleanup. I heard from a lot of people, there was a lot on social media about how much people really appreciated that. People sent me messages saying, thank you, this is wonderful, thank you town crews for doing that. They really did a good job, and I know they have a little more work to do, and it took them a little while to get to certain places, and some people were a little impatient, but they got it done, and there was quite a lot to do.
Oh, there was a
obviously.
lot.
So that's a lot of work to do, and it's not easy work. You know, hauling brush around is not easy work, even when you're chipping it. So
All I can say is before they got the pulp truck, they were in a panic.
yeah, oh yeah, because that's a lot of loads for little trucks and little trailers without having a large truck to have the capacity for it. So thank you for that. Thanks to Dawn and Bernard for all their coordination through all of this that they've been working with the other staff, the police chief, the hospital, and all the other kind of parts and pieces that have to move together and be coordinated through the town office and everything else that they've been doing a great job for that. Transition to the online service is moving along, I think will help quite a bit and ease a little of that anxiety that people have about driving vehicles that are unregistered. Personally, I kind of forget they need to be registered until I notice it 6 months later, and I'm like, oh, I should do that. But yeah, so I think that will help quite a bit and might ease some congestion coming into the office if people can kind of start using those services. I'd encourage them to start doing that when it's available. Quick and easy, do it from home. You don't have to make a trip into the office. And so that would be really good.
Once that's set up, we'll do a big PR campaign because that will relieve the stress on the office and having everybody arrive at once. It will help the public that doesn't want to go out many places too, so that would be really good.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is like easing some anxiety that people might have to having to go into buildings right now. And also the staff, you know, they had to make some huge adjustments in every department for their work schedule and their workflow and figuring out how to work at home and work in the office and, you know, having things here and having things there and trying to make all those transitions in the midst of also having their children at home and maybe spouses at home and everybody trying to be there all at once when you don't usually have that as a work environment. And so just the fact that they've been able to be productive with all those other things going on, you know, kudos to all of our employees that are you know, performing really admirably right now.
Almost everyone wants to be back in the office, all the offices and buildings all the time.
And I did have some concerns. Some people brought concerns about the meeting tonight not being advertised in the Rolling Thunder. I know it was advertised in the legal notices that were put out in the Bangor Daily News and things like that because of the circulation that is the requirement for the daily circulation papers versus the Rolling Thunder being a weekly. And I don't know if there's a way that we can put our meetings in some of the around the towns part, you know, where we used to be able to put the, if we could get a staff person to put the meetings out there, maybe not with the links, but just to go to the website to get the link to go on, just so that more people are aware of the fact that it is available online as well as available to watch if they need to participate. The online is the way to do it. If they just want to watch and be informed, then going into the town hall streams would be the way to do it. You know, just that there's that opportunity is there, as well as putting the meeting on the Facebook and trying to get that linking to work, because that can reach a lot of people.
Yeah, the linking definitely didn't work properly for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But it also disappeared from the town website. That was strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it does.
Yeah.
Once you open that up, and it gets on your calendar, which is why I had to have you send it to me again, it disappears. So I couldn't go to my computer, it wasn't
Well, it's
there.
still on the website. The link is still on the website to be able to get through, through
Right.
that. So, and even
And it shouldn't disappear on your calendar. That seems like an
No,
error.
it doesn't disappear on
It's
your
on the
calendar, but
calendar.
it disappears out of your email. Gone.
oh,
It
that's
does do
bizarre
that.
because I've gone back to mine 3 times, so it never did
Yeah,
that.
I didn't have any issues with mine.
Right, but
anyway, I
you,
think
what
just-
happened was you didn't accept it. She accepted it and then it went away.
In order to put it on my calendar.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what it is.
So
you didn't look at them.
accept it before just before the meeting, and you're all set.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there isn't really a way, there's no reason to open it, because it's a link to a meeting, and there's nothing there, it's just your computer sitting there waiting to join, because somebody has to let you in.
Right.
It's like knocking on somebody's door and nobody's home until they get there at the appointed time and open the door, you know? But yeah, just don't open your link until it's time to get everything set up, but.
So for the Rolling Thunder, we haven't put the advertisements in the Rolling Thunder for over 10 years now, because we used to do both, but due to the cost, we ended up with the legal one for the public hearing notices. Now, we can send the dates into the Rolling Thunder.
Free of charge.
That's hit or miss.
I think
sometimes it'll be there, sometimes not.
I think that's more what people were looking for,
Okay.
because of the changing of the schedule, that we hadn't had a meeting for a while, just to make it more widely known that we were having the meetings again, because we did have such a break from the COVID.
Well, I will say,
So-
I went in out of curiosity and wondered how many people have been going into the website. The events schedule, if I'm remembering correctly, had over 6,000 hits for a month. So I figured that people pretty much were going in there to see what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it was huge.
Dang, that's
But the
good.
more places that we can publish it, the better.
Oh, I
And
agree,
it doesn't
yeah.
cost us anything to put like the meeting schedule, or just even a little blurb on there. Like you can make a post and then highlight it so that it's at the top of a page. So that's the first thing people see when they go to the town Facebook page. If you highlight it or pin to the top, then that is the first thing they see. And that can be like a running list of the events pulled from the calendar. Town council is on this date and this date. Planning board is on this date. You know, you don't have to list all the links and everything and then just say, go to the website and get the link for each of these meetings.
All right, so you would put
You
it
know.
at the top where the pictures are, because it makes it, you can make it go to the top of the
Yes,
page where the pictures
pinning
are.
it to the top will keep it the most current thing people see. And then the next item that you put in there would be like the top of your timeline. And then if you put something else in there,
It just
would,
keeps bumping.
that one thing would stay at the top until you unpin it. So, but that could always be like the meetings for the month of May, meetings for the month of
Well, I
June.
think we would do better with that than the Rolling Thunder, simply because the items would get left out.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of, you know, I've always been surprised at how many people read the Rolling Thunder from page 1 to page, you know, whatever it
it's
ends at,
great.
and every
It's
single
great.
word, you know. But yeah, that was just something that a couple people had commented to me that they thought that the meeting should be in the Rolling Thunder. But I explained to them about the legal notices needed
Yeah,
to have that circulation, and that's why it wasn't the choice spot. to put
Oh,
it.
no, and I agree.
And it would be an ad that we'd have to buy for
Right.
that too, so,
that would've
and
been
they were, I think they
Big
understood that
ad.
too.
No, and it's unfortunate that the Rolling Thunder can't be qualified, but we've been through that several
Right.
times with the
Yeah,
legislature.
it's an
never been
advertiser,
approved.
not a newspaper.
Right, but
Right.
it's the most widely read paper probably.
Probably in
Yeah.
somewhere in the state.
Yeah.
It is the only one I read too.
Yeah. One of the other questions I had was opening the pool this summer and the theater, both places where people gather. Social distancing is not going to be something that can easily be done, and I think we need to have some hard conversations, or maybe easy conversations, I don't know, about what we're going to do with that programming for the summer. And maybe the pool is for the new committee to tackle, and I'm guessing at our next meeting we'll have a slate
Yes.
of committee members to adopt for that committee so that they can kind of take a look at that. But we're going to be right up against, when does it usually open? 1st of July?
It would be open,
In
June.
Usually
The
it's
last
in
Last
June.
part of June.
the last
Last week
week
of
of June.
Okay, so they're going to be kind of in a time crunch because our meeting's the 19th, and then for them to have a committee and everything. So.
Well, I think what we have from talking to the staff, the library's got their plan going in multiple phases. We will, at the town office, phase in near the end if all the improvements work out well. The pool director and the recreation director really want to open up the swimming program, and I just can't see how we can do that, but they are really working on it. And I said, get information from all these full-time locations. What are they doing at Alphon? What are they doing at these other pools? And find out you know, and then we'll
Yeah.
look over things.
You know what's interesting, Catherine, and for people who may be opposed to the pool opening, the CDC actually has a recommendation on their page that you can go to pools because the chemicals will kill the virus, and that what you need to do is make sure that you are limiting the number of people within the facility to allow for that. But there actually is a recommendation to go to pools as part of your physical exercise.
So.
And that's the federal CDC.
Right.
Yes.
So my concern would be the interaction between people at the pools, kids playing
Right,
at the pools.
because
They're not in the water, under the
Right.
water the entire time, you know. They're playing games and they're horsing around, or they're, sitting next to each other. I mean, that would be my concern, as well as, bathhouses and shower areas and high touch
Yeah,
areas.
this is,
Somebody you'd have to have a whole protocol of sanitizing those things. I understand that, the actual water has a lot of chlorine in it and it's going to kill anything.
Your phone
But
disconnected.
it's, But anyway, so that, I was really
It did.
concerned about that, but I would think that they would be addressing that. And then the theater, I have huge reservations about the theater reopening, and that's something
yeah.
that we're gonna have to address. I know you wanna go to the movies, Tim.
I don't think that they can open that until
I
all
don't
the
either.
theaters open.
I mean, that's way down the road.
Yeah, that could be in
That's
September.
Way down the road.
Right
It's
about the
September.
time they're predicting the second wave.
Exactly, that's the big concern.
I think that's why a lot of the summer things have been postponed or canceled, because they are predicting a second wave. It originally for the winter, late fall or early winter, now they've pushed it back to August.
Yeah.
So we might get 3 weeks of summer weather and activity, and then we're all locked up again.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like our numbers aren't going down. We're still staying steady in the 20 cases
Right.
a day, new every day. So we're not really at a peak. We're not really on the downside. We're kind of at this plateau, and that
Which will change when
it could change in
things
minutes.
start getting,
Yeah,
as
it
we
could change
phase
2
in
weeks
everything.
from now. It could change the first.
Well, it's gonna change once we start testing everybody too.
Well, yeah.
Because that's not what we're doing right now.
Yeah, there is no testing.
Very few people are getting the tests, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't see how you can open that unless the state and the state CDC says, listen, now we can open for movie theaters. Unless the governor and the CDC says that, I think it would be
Well, they
pretty
have to
tough to
fall
open that.
underneath that whole
Yeah.
order.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's no programming there, there's nothing going on there. The protocols have been updated. I think we need to furlough that employee and just close down the building and assume we're not gonna be operating that building at least through the end of the year.
Well, that employee has volunteered to do any other work that there might be, and I'd be sad to see that person go if the theater does get up and running again.
I've made that offer. I'm not gonna hook back up because it makes too much noise to get back on the phone for the Zoom, because it turned itself off for some reason. But yes, I've made that offer. That there are certain duties that aren't being done in different departments that we can have somebody that's currently working for us do them. But I made that offer and it's gonna expire shortly.
Well, I mean, my preference would be to have qualified people doing the jobs that need to be done. Great news about the Puritan Medical Products coming into the operating a new facility here in Pittsfield at the old UTC building. It's a great use for that building. It's a really high-tech building. You don't think of smoke alarm assembly as being high-tech, but it's a super clean facility, and they really do have medical grade building sections in there that can be used for medical research and stuff, and that was one of the things that we had identified as far as businesses to attract to the town. So I just want to acknowledge the leadership from Chimbro, as well as working with BIW and General Dynamics for the engineering for the machines and the work that everybody's doing to get that facility up and running. They're going full tilt to try to get that facility operational as soon as possible.
And Yes, that's they're just- on mandatory overtime. Jeff works there.
Yeah, it's an amazing project, and it's gonna be great to see that and to have like traffic jams in town during shift change, and you don't really think of looking forward to those things, but it's been a long time since we've had that kind of traffic through town, and hopefully that will kind of spread out to the other businesses as people need services and things like that on their way home or to work or whatever.
Lunchtime breaks.
Lunchtime breaks, and be a boon for our restaurants when the restaurants get opened back up again, even if it is just curbside. So I think it's going to be a really good thing for the town, and we won't have an empty building sitting there anymore. So that's it's a emotional lift as well as an economic lift for the town not to have an empty building there. So it'll be nice to see them bustling over there. And really just kind of like the community's made of people, and the resiliency of the community is in its people. And there's been, we talk a lot about social media and the problems with it, and we just had a policy tonight that we put in place to avoid having problems of it. But the things that I've seen on social media, because I'm on it for my business as well as for my personal stuff, I've seen people just offering to help other people. I've seen people post a plea like, I know this person, they need help. There weren't any details given or anything else, and within a couple hours there was $700 pledged and Venmo'd around to help this person that was in need. And most of the people didn't even know who the person was. They just knew that there was a need there, and that they knew that they could help try and fill that need. And I think that's the kind of things that that make Pittsfield a pretty special place, and that's our strength as far as a small town and being able to do that as well. So that's kind of like the people that are here are what's going to make the difference in how things are handled for that. And the last thing I wanted to comment on, which was in the public sphere, so I don't think it's out of place to comment on it, was the fact that our full-time police officers had a vote of no confidence in our police chief. And I just wanted to put out there that I received, they put a lot of information out there. There was a report that was ordered by the town, and that was then released. It was a report that the council was not privy to see before it had been released publicly by the actual police chief, because he was a subject of that and it had to do with personnel, so we were not privy to see that. But in reading that report that was out in the public, it was really eye-opening, and it also, I've also received a lot of comments and letters of support for the police chief, both from the DA's office, the sheriffs, a lot of the police chiefs. I think every police chief in the central district. I don't know if everybody else received those letters on the council as well. But there's a lot of people that also respect the work that he's been doing and the job that he's been doing. And I don't want that to get lost, because not all of that was out in the public sphere as well. And I'm saying this personally as me, not necessarily sitting here as mayor or as councilor, but personally having sat on the committee to select a new police chief for this town. I think we made the right decision. I think he's made a lot of positive changes in this town, and I think that he's overall done a good job. I think anytime someone steps into a position that was previously held by someone for over 20 years, it's always a difficult path to go down. And you can't do that without expecting some difficulties. And that's not to say that our police chief, that Pete's perfect, because nobody is. Everybody has missteps along the way. This is a completely different style of government and working environment than he'd been in before, and a different role that he'd been in before. And this is a different town, and trying to navigate all that can be difficult for anybody coming into a new role. But I just wanted to voice my support for the chief, and my hope that things can get worked out within the department, so that although our services to the town have not been compromised, it's clear that the relationships within the department have been. And my hope would be that through the process that they're going through now, through some of these hearings, that gets settled, and that they can find a way to work through that and actually work together for the betterment of the town, rather than just doing their jobs, that they can work cohesively within the department. So on that, I guess I'll end on that, and Catherine, the last question I had was whether or not we are planning on hiring a replacement for Grace, who left. She was the assistant in the police department for the administrative assistant. Do we have plans to rehire or advertise for that position?
All right, that's something that has to be worked out. I had requested a list of what work was being completed that needed to be done after she resigned, and then I have received what the list was going to be, which sounded good, and then we got a work list from the individual who continued to work after she had gotten done, and the items that are on there don't match up, so I'm waiting for information from Bonnie Staffing, because this was quite interesting.
Okay, so we're gonna wait and have that sorted out.
We need to reconcile the whole thing.
Okay, and are you gonna look to go through the staffing agency again, or look to hire?
I would say absolutely not. You know, I used the staffing agency when there was a shortage of employees in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I've come to believe that staffing agencies do not check the backgrounds of the individuals that we've been hiring. And this has nothing to do with Grace. This goes back on some of the people that we've hired for the positions. And so, no, I'm not going to use the staffing agency.
Okay,
again.
so we do our traditional
We'll do
hiring
traditional.
processes
Yes.
and whatnot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a disappointment.
Or
Actually,
the person that we have already hired could possibly be the half-time assistant to the chief and the half-time assistant to Catherine,
Who have we
which
hired?
that's never been Jamie.
Jamie's our theater manager.
But she can also do other things until the theater is open. I'm just putting that out
Or on
there.
a temporary basis to try things
You know,
out.
Catherine has the ability to do that because it's a personnel issue, not a council issue.
Yeah, we can look at temporary assignments to try to make sure everybody's taken care of and we save as much money as possible and get as much work done for
Yeah.
everybody involved. Yeah.
Heather, I actually had
You
a couple
had
more.
another?
Yeah, I had a couple more things that I forgot. One was, Catherine, I don't know if there's been any discussion or plans to look into the West Street address that had burned down. And there's kind of a huge mess left there.
Yeah, the code officer and the fire department were working on that. There was an insurance payment that was made, and the person had the property signed back to them by the bank. So the code officer had made several contacts and got nothing back. So he was still working on that, and I will remind him.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it has been quite a while.
The one other thing is, I happened to, in my walkabout, when I walk around town, I happened to notice that a house mysteriously all of a sudden became totally caution taped all the way around it on Heartland Avenue. Any idea on what the story is of that?
All right, so on Heartland Avenue, approximately where?
Almost at the end of School Street.
Yeah, it's, if you're coming off School Street, off to the left a little
Okay.
bit.
It's almost directly in front of you.
It's like a mauve type colored house, and they wrapped it with caution. It looks like it's been condemned.
Yeah. Well, and it was just all of a sudden, so I didn't know if maybe you would.
No, the code officer didn't mention that. He gives me a little report. He didn't mention going out and condemning anything. So that's that older type structure,
I
like.
think it was an apartment, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
we
think
can
it
check
was a
into that.
two-family.
I can let everybody know by email what's going on there. Yeah. Yeah, I had not.
Yeah, it showed up sometime last week or maybe. the
Yeah,
week
I hadn't
before.
been over in that direction as of, at that time. I was over there before. Yeah, when we're going around looking at all the brush.
It looked like it had been cleaned up and then they wrapped it.
Yeah, it was weird.
That would be strange.
I mean, like, they taped off the steps and
Yeah.
I mean, the whole house is like wrapped in caution tape.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're doing a good job cleaning that up.
They're creative.
Wait.
Maybe bank did it.
Maybe the bank did.
Maybe the bank did.
There is a paper on the window, but you can't read it because they've caution taped it.
Okay. That, I suspect that might be a property that's been, gotten back to the bank. It's been repossessed. Usually that's when the papers show up.
I've just never seen one wrapped in caution tape.
Me either.
They took it seriously.
And the fact that there was a bank in a foreclosure and a bankruptcy and everything involved with the red building, that was part of what the delay was too.
Yeah, I knew that was a delay, but it's been burned down for quite a while.
Correct,
It's just
yeah.
sitting there.
Did you
I'll
have
talk to the
anything
code
else?
officer.
Yeah, no, that was it.
That's good?
Yeah.
Okay. That actually reminded me of two other things I was supposed to ask you last night, so I'm glad. The cars at the reuse center that the fire department uses for training, they're really ugly. I got some complaints about them sitting there because it's like an entrance to
Oh,
town.
we will understand.
And it's something that we've discussed a couple times about having them out of there once they were done, you know, cutting them out and playing with them and doing all their training, is getting them out of there.
Well, you all did discuss that, however, the planning board gave Bernard a permit for quite a bit of activities down there, and he has a permit, I believe, to keep those there.
Even though they're all, I mean,
Yeah.
there's not much more they could do to those cars.
I understand. I'll
The
ask
plan
again
is to
about it.
actually put a training center.
Oh,
which
I
would
understand
Which
that.
would include old vehicles or an old bus
Yeah,
or
Parts of
whatever,
vehicles.
so they can work with the jaws
Yeah,
and
no,
whatnot.
I understand that and
So-
the purpose of doing it. I'm just saying, looking at the cars, there's not much more they can like cut up to get people out of, or you know, there's not much more they can do to those cars.
One of
than
So
them
it's
is
a jump.
pretty well tin canned.
Yeah, and they're not a great presentation to people coming into town on that end of town to come in and be like, hey, look at this. So that was just a concern that a couple people brought up to me about, you know, when are they gonna clean them up? And then the other thing was the house on Somerset Ave, with all the ladders and everything, and
Yeah,
where
the
that
matters
is.
multiplied.
Where that is. I thought the tractor moved too, but,
Things did move around a
but,
bit.
yeah,
though.
where that is in the process of, the letters and the legal and all that.
Yeah, so I reported at the last council meeting that we had a response from one of the two property owners who agreed to do items. They still haven't been done, but at least there was a signed agreement, which if we have to go back to court helps us. The other property owner, which is the Somerset Avenue one, ignored everybody. He didn't bring up having his attorney take care of us this time, but this will end up having to go to court, but right now the courts aren't taking cases like this. So, the code officer has tried other letters. If we don't have a certain number, you know, we'll do some more contacts because we've got time before the courts open up. It just makes a better case for us.
Mhm.
But I don't suspect this will be taken care of unless we go to court.
Okay,
Which is why
so
we
we're
listed
kind
it.
of in a holding pattern of
Correct.
send them letters and just build
Yes.
up a stack of letters to show the court
Yeah.
that we're pursuing it.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, does anybody have anything else?
I was trying to be good, so I didn't do updates on everything. I have to leave something for the next meeting.
The only thing I have is, it's a shame that the Egg Festival got canceled this year, but that gives us plenty of time to have a real good Egg Festival next year.
Yeah.
And I bet you, I'd be willing to bet a $5 bill we'll have a real good one next year.
Okay.
Oh,
Anybody?
Catherine, just a reminder about the truck for the cemetery, can that
Yes.
be put on the next agenda?
Yes, there's several items that didn't get, paperwork wasn't filed for this meeting, but will be filed for the next meeting. Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
I figured you didn't want the agenda to be too long.
Aye.
And thank you for
Yeah, all those
inviting
in
some
favor,
of
say
Oh, all
those.
those in favor, adjourning.
Aye. No nays.
All right, make sure we're legally, and we adjourned at 8:57.
8:57.
Is that the book I gotta sign?
Nope, no, it's a code.
Okay. I didn't think so.
You've got a packet of papers, Tim, instead of passing things
That's
around.
what I was thinking, and then I see that red thing, I'm saying, what did I just miss here?
Yeah,
Nope.
you've got your own.
You know, I'm a little
packet
slow on the uptake these days, I had to stop and think for a minute.
So Catherine, on this 20-09, it's a public hearing, so that it actually isn't getting signed tonight.
No, we're gonna sign them all, yes, because some you approved tonight, and the other one you're setting 2 public hearings. So
Right.
that gives us the authority to do
So
the
they all
public
need-
hearings.
So this one needs to be signed for the authority to go to.
Correct, yes.
Gotcha.
Boy, this was exhausting. Do we want to?
Well, I thought it worked really well, Catherine, aside from losing the audio at the end, but I think if I thought of it, I could have turned mine on and it would have picked up
Oh, okay.
the audio. So I didn't think of that until like right at the end. I'm like,
okay.
oh, I can unmute and then people can hear.
Well, we'll come up with
They-
other
they-
items,
Yeah.
so, but you were heard, right?
I think, well, I had to unmute to do it, I think, unless, is your phone going through this?
Have a good
speaker
evening.
there?
Yeah.
You too.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming.
good to see you.
Thanks. Be well.
Yes,
Have fun
thank
with
you.
your puppy.
Yeah, he's a character.
Boy,
Put your shoes up.
I saw that dog, it was like trying to eat the leaves, and it was like, looking like an evil dog, like, I'm going to do what I want.
My goodness.
Well,
I have been holding that.
I was little talking to him last night, and he's like, no, don't eat my shoes.
Just sit there.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
Yep. Have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
I think I signed everything. I did.